Chapter 42. At the departure port. In the center of the bazaar, Han Fei spent 10 mid-quality pearls to rent a booth. It was obvious that every inch of land here was extremely valuable. At this moment, there was a sign erected here, attracting the attention of countless people. Someone said disdainfully, "Oh, you sure talk big. Number 1 delicacy in the world? Are you bragging?" One of the other vendors sneered. "Have you been to the world? You still call this the most delicious food in the world?" Someone was curious. What are they going to do here? Standing in front of the barbecue grill, Han Fei shouted to the crowd, "Today, the world's most delicious barbecue stall officially opens. Everything is half price. I guarantee that you'll eat until your tongue falls off. From then on, you'll fall in love with our world's most delicious barbecue stall." Barbecue stall? What is that? A passerby asked curiously. "Don't worry, I'll make some for you later. You can have a taste for free. If you don't like it, it's free." "Really? Kid, you can make the decision, right? Is it free if it's not delicious?" "Of course, I mean what I say. Gang Z, start the fire." On the long barbecue rack, there were small white fish, big conches, big clams, big yellow croaker slices, small octopus tentacles, small white shrimp. Dozens of seafood were placed on it. Han Fei, on the other hand, was quite happy. All the seafood he touched was drained of spiritual energy, which meant that all the barbecue here had no spiritual energy. When Han Fei took out a red pepper, he shouted at the crowd, "Everyone, you may not believe me, but I'm a red pepper. This is a red tear fruit, a type of spiritual fruit. Do you know how much it costs? 1 mid-quality pearl." Wha? The crowd burst into an uproar. A spiritual fruit that cost a mid-quality pearl was being bought as a snack? Someone said in disbelief, "Liar, how could such a luxurious thing be used to make food? How much did you sell it for?" Han Fei said, "I can make dozens of servings of this spiritual fruit. It's not expensive. As for the price, we guarantee that we will not cheat anyone. All the prices are written on this board." When Han Fei showed the price board, everyone was in an uproar again. Someone criticized, "Kid, aren't you cheating us? You're selling little white fish for 10 low-quality pearls per caddy? You've increased it by dozens of times." "That's right, his heart is too black. You're selling the clam for 20 low-quality pearls? That's more than 100 times the price. No matter how delicious it is, I won't buy it. 10 days of hard work, and I can only buy a small octopus. What a loss. I'll only try the free food. I'll leave after I'm done. If it wasn't for the title of the world's most delicious food hanging here, I wouldn't have stopped to look. I really want to see what kind of ability this little kid has to make the most delicious food in the world." The crowd was full of criticism, and Li Gang's forehead was full of sweat. When he first saw the price board, he was also shocked. He wouldn't believe that someone would eat such expensive food. However, Han Fei took out the ginger and garlic and shouted, "Whether it's worth it or not depends on how you see it. Even if it was a small white fish, would it still be an ordinary small white fish after I added 3 kinds of spiritual fruits? In addition to the 3 types of spirit fruits, I also used the best quality fish oil and the appropriate amount of salt. Just don't refuse to leave later." Someone sneered. "Who knows if the spiritual fruit is real or not?" "Exactly. No one has seen what a spiritual fruit looks like. Do you think it's a spiritual fruit just because you say it's a spiritual fruit? How can a spiritual fruit only cost 1 mid-quality pearl?" Han Fei nodded. "Whether it's true or not, you can go to the Southern Plantation and have a look. All the spiritual fruits in this shop are guaranteed to be authentic. But if it's a fraud, I'll pay you 10 times the price if it's fake." "Wow, really? How dare you say that? It doesn't seem to be fake. Does this little kid have so much money? Huh? Isn't this the good-for-nothing Han Fei?" Someone responded, "I heard that Tengu is his brother and gave him a lot of benefits. Now he is no longer a good-for-nothing, but a genius." At this moment, Han Fei had brushed the fish oil several times. The onlookers couldn't help but gasp. "Is fish oil free? Fish oil is very expensive. That's a caddy of fish oil that can only be extracted from countless fish. It's very expensive, but Han Fei just casually used it, and the fish oil was dripping into the fire, which made everyone's heart ache. Some people even secretly whispered, This is clearly a spendthrift. On the side, Li Gang had already crushed the peppers and garlic into pieces and was ready to be used. When Han Fei smeared the minced garlic on the barbecue, the crowd immediately exclaimed, "Wow, it smells so good. It's so fragrant. Is this the power of a spiritual fruit?" Someone was shocked. It's said that spiritual fruits are like this. The fragrance can spread around and make people unable to walk. It seems that this spiritual fruit is real. At this moment, not to mention the onlookers, even Han Fei kept swallowing. And when the peppers were brushed on the barbecue, the fragrance became stronger again. Han Fei shouted, "Everyone, it's almost ready. In a few minutes, the first batch of barbecue will be ready. The first batch is free. Don't fight for it. If it's delicious, you can support my shop. Half price today, half price today, half price today, half price today." I'll repeat this 3 times. 2 minutes later, Han Fei shouted, "Okay, little gang, next batch." A crowd of people moved, and everyone stared at the barbecue in Han Fei's hand. Han Fei cut the barbecue into hundreds of pieces with a blade fish dagger and shouted, "Come on, don't fight for it. Everyone, have a taste." Let me. Get out of the way. I'll try it first. I got here first. Boy, you give it to me first. Don't push. I'll try it for you." Li Gang was a little dumbfounded. Were they all so enthusiastic? They were just trying to taste the spiritual fruit. Who would really spend money on such expensive food? A young man, who was at the front of the line, was the first to get a sample. He got a big clam, which was golden and had 3 kinds of spiritual fruits on it. It smelled very fragrant. When the clam was put into his mouth, he was shocked. "See, God, why is there such a delicious thing in this world? Is it still clam meat? How can clam meat be so delicious?" It's simply, the young man was dumbfounded. His poor vocabulary couldn't express his feelings at this moment at all. Not only this young man, but all the people who got the samples were stunned. The taste was delicious and fragrant. The heat and touch of the sea clam completely covered the fishy smell of the sea clam. Everyone felt that the taste buds on their tongues were opened, and every muscle on the tip of the tongue was jumping. It's delicious. It's so delicious. I've never tasted anything so delicious. Sea God, isn't this a wonderful taste that only the sea god can have? I can't believe it has appeared in the mortal world. Many people were drooling after they finished the food. Looking at the new batch of barbecue on the grill, nobody was going to leave. Many people who were about to go out to sea to fish froze in their positions and didn't want to move away. Those who didn't get a sample at the back stood on their tiptoes and looked around. Not to mention that so many people said it was delicious, they couldn't stand the smell alone. Han Fei looked at them. Han Fei looked at them and said, "Don't push. Spread out and don't block their way. It's no longer free from now on, but it's half price. Hurry up if you want to buy. I want a caddy of yellow fish. I want 5 caddies of white fish. I want a little octopus. I want a whole clam." Someone looked at the man next to him and said, "Didn't you just say that you only eat free food?" The man snorted. "You must have a conscience. How can you eat without paying? I'm going to support this little boy's business." There was a swarm of heads as everyone gathered around. Li Gang was dumbfounded. Didn't they just say that they wouldn't buy it? Weren't they cursing just now? Why did they all change their faces? Li Gang felt that he was drooling too. It smelled really delicious. Even though the price was 100 times higher, people were still buying it. That was unbelievable. He had never thought that anyone would buy a clam with 20 low-quality pearls. That was the most extravagant thing he had ever seen. As Han Fei continued barbecuing, gradually, the whole street was filled with people who couldn't help but come here. Some people smelled an alluring fragrance as soon as they arrived at the entrance of the market. Some people were about to go to sea when they smelled the fragrance and wanted to take a look. Zhang Han was leisurely eating sea melon seeds in the shop. When the fragrance drifted into his nose, he immediately dropped the sea melon seeds. It smelled too good. Could it be that someone was cooking something? Even Sister Qin, who was the coldest in the port, frowned. She couldn't help but swallow when she smelled an indescribable fragrance from the market. Chapter 43. Zhang Han pushed the crowd aside. He was too curious about what could emit such an alluring fragrance. When the crowd slightly dispersed, Zhang Han saw the words "world's most delicious food," and Han Fei was standing in front of the barbecue stall brushing fish oil, his face extremely serious, and Li Gang, who was knocked down by Han Fei before, was helping him. Zhang Han opened his mouth, not quite sure what to do. Why aren't you fishing? Why are you running a stall? Aren't you going to take the fishing trial in a few days? Are you giving up already? Then, Zhang Han saw the shocking price list. 10 low-quality pearls for a white fish and 20 low-quality pearls for a clam? This! Zhang Han gasped. He thought that he was already a scammer. It was not unusual for him to cheat people of dozens of sea coins or 1 or 2 low-quality pearls. But it seemed that he was a businessman with a conscience. The price of the clam had been increased by hundreds of times, and people were still buying it. The key was that there were many people buying it, and some people were still fighting for it. Kid, give me a big clam. Boy, I'd like 10 prawns. Little boss, I'd like 2 conches. Zhang Han was shocked. What huge profit! Han Fei had seen Zhang Han a long time ago. He couldn't help but ask, Manager Zhang, do you want anything? My stall just opened today. Everything is half price. You can't miss it. Zhang Han gasped again. 10 low-quality pearls for your white fish. Han Fei said, only 5 today. Zhang Han, what's wrong with 5? Do you think it's too little? 5 low-quality pearls were 500 sea coins, which was enough for dozens of white fish. Han Fei was generous enough to give 3 prawns to Zhang Han. Zhang Han received it in a daze. Looking at the golden and dazzling prawn meat and the powdery substance on top of it, he took a bite and was immediately stupefied. How could there be such a delicious thing in this world? God knew what was on Zhang Han's mind. He asked, have you paid a management fee for your stall? Not just Han Fei. Many other people looked at Zhang Han in surprise. You're still thinking about such things at a time like this? Don't you want to savor this delicacy? Han Fei smiled and patted his price board. Zhang Han glanced at it. 1 low-quality pearl for 1 prawn. He almost jumped to his feet. Did I just eat a low-quality pearl in 1 bite? Zhang Han stepped forward. Han Fei, why is it so expensive? Li Gang had always been at odds with Zhang Han. At this moment, he said proudly, what do you know? 3 kinds of spiritual fruits are used as auxiliary materials, and you still think it's expensive? What do you think? What? Zhang Han almost threw away the prawns in his hand. Spiritual fruits as spices? Was Han Fei crazy? However, when Zhang Han saw the red pepper, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief. But then he was speechless and said, don't tell me that the spiritual fruit you mentioned was obtained from the old man in the plantation. Of course, Zhang Han knew about the plantation. Not only did he know about it, but he had also been there and bought a mid-quality pearl and a spiritual fruit. It was delicious, but it was completely useless. The spiritual energy he gained after eating, it was not even as much as that of a yellow croaker. Han Fei said, there are thousands of spiritual fruits. Some can help with breakthroughs, some are helpful for cultivation, and some are natural spices that can bring happiness. Zhang Han's face was gloomy. Happiness my ass. Han Fei asked, Manager Zhang, do you want anything else? Without saying a word, Zhang Han snorted and left gloomily. Ever since Han Fei became the angel's disciple, Han Fei had changed. His words and actions were completely different from before. Was Han Fei also changed by the angel? If that was the case, Han Fei was really untouchable. In just one day, Han Fei was so busy that he had handled at least 800 tons of seafood. He had only used up less than half of the materials, and he had earned more than 5,000 low-quality pearls, which was equivalent to 50 mid-quality pearls. Li Gang was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He joined the Tigers to make a good life for Little Red, but he had never made so much money. That was 50 mid-quality pearls. Ordinary people might not have that much money even if they didn't eat or drink for decades. Suddenly, Han Fei shouted, Gang Z, come and take over. I'm exhausted. Li Gang was surprised that Han Fei was asking him to do the work. Li Gang said, How can I do that? Han Fei said gloomily, Do you want me to die of exhaustion? Come and take over. With that, Han Fei let go and sat aside to rest. Looking at the buckets of white fish, yellow croakers, prawns, and conches behind him, He felt that spiritual energy was surging at him. In just one day, he had absorbed almost 4,000 points of spiritual energy. Plus his own inventory, he had more than 5,000 points of spiritual energy. More importantly, he didn't suffer a loss. He only spent some money on 100 kilograms of fish head wine, which only cost 5 or 6 mid-quality pearls. Li Gang had learned it a long time ago. It was actually very simple to do. Splash the fish oil, splash the chili juice, and sprinkle some minced garlic. It couldn't have been easier. Han Fei took a rest and asked, "Gangzi, where are your lackeys?" Li Gang didn't know how to answer. After all, his lackeys were already dead. Li Gang asked, "They must have become fish dung." Han Fei asked, "Do you have any other lackeys?" Li Gang replied, "No. There aren't many gangsters in the village. I can't control the other gangsters. They're all in the gang." Han Fei asked, "What is Little Red doing at home?" Li Gang's face slightly changed. "Young master, Little Red is my life." "Little Red?" Han Fei scoffed. "Bah, what are you thinking? I mean, can you ask Little Red to help the world's best barbecue stall? I'll give you 10% of the profits." Li Gang was stunned. Young master, really?" This was completely beyond Li Gang's expectation. After he was crippled by the tigers, he had planned to retire. If he wasn't careful enough, he might lose his life. But he didn't expect that Han Fei would help him. Not only did Han Fei cure his wounds, but he also asked for 10% of the profits from the barbecue stall. Li Gang asked again, "Young master, really?" Han Fei said, "Why would I lie to you? I don't care about such a small amount of money right now." Li Gang was overjoyed. "You don't care about it, but I do." Even if he only got 10% of the profits, according to today's sales, he would get 5 mid-quality pearls, and that was only half the price. Wouldn't it double if there was no discount? That was much more than what he made in the tigers. Han Fei handed a fish or a skewer of shrimp to Li Gang from time to time. Every time, the fish would be cold and their spiritual energy would be drained, but Han Fei never got tired of it. At night, the stall was about to close. Wang Jie and He Mingtang came. Seeing that Han Fei was here, Wang Jie was furious. "Han Fei, what are you doing? Do you think you're a lowly fisherman? The fishing trial is around the corner. Why are you here instead of cultivating?" Li Gang said angrily, "Fishing master Wang Jie, you can't say that. My young master is a man of great ability. A fishing trial is nothing to him." "Shut up," Wang Jie said gloomily. "Han Fei, speak for yourself." Han Fei said solemnly, "Master, we cultivators have a weak foundation. It's time to lay the foundation. Only with enough money can we support our cultivation." Wang Jie said, "Speak human language." Han Fei said, "I feel that I'm about to make a breakthrough. I need to make some money to buy some ancillary spiritual fluids." Wang Jie said, "How much money can you make from your stall?" "I didn't believe it when I heard that my student was setting up a stall. I didn't expect that you would really be here." Han Fei said, "Master, it's very profitable. I made 50 mid-quality pearls." Wang Jie said, "Shut up. Is 50 mid-quality pearls a big deal?" "Wait, how many mid-quality pearls did you say?" Han Fei said, 50. He Mingtang asked, "Han Fei, are your mid-quality pearls yellowfish?" 50. Clatter. Li Gang tossed the box of low-quality pearls out and fiddled with them. "I told you that my young master is awesome. This box is almost full." Wang Jie, He Mingtang. Wang Jie and He Mingtang finally noticed the price of Han Fei's barbecue. Hiss! Both of them sucked in a cold breath. Wang Jie asked, It's so expensive. Is anybody buying it?" Han Fei immediately said to Li Gang, "Little Gang, roast some prawns and clams for Mr. Wang and Mr. He after we close the stall." Li Gang asked, "Are you paying?" Han Fei was lost for words. "Why are you so ignorant? How can I ask for money when I'm a teacher?" A moment later, Han Fei saw that Wang Jie and He Mingtang were almost drooling. Both of them were shocked by the intense aroma. When Wang Jie learned that Han Fei added 3 kinds of spiritual fruits to the clams, he was lost for words. "Are you a tycoon?" But after a mouthful of prawns, Wang Jie shut up. He Mingtang said, "Han Fei, can you get a few more prawns? I'll bring some for He Xiaoyu. Give me some of each." Chapter 44. The voice came suddenly. They looked back and saw that it was Sister Qin, the registrar of the departure port. Sister Qin's real name was Jiang Qin. She had been working at the port for 3 years. She showed up at work on time every day and didn't leave until everyone went to bed. No one knew Jiang Qin's background, but no one paid attention to it. After all, it was just a civil servant in everyone's eyes. Of course, Han Fei didn't know any of this. He only knew that the girl left a good impression on him. Although she was a bit cold, she always took care of him when he went to see. Hey, Sister Qin is here. Wait a moment. Gongzi, add more dishes. When Wang Jie saw Han Fei's earnings, he realized he couldn't teach him a lesson. He pulled Han Fei to the side. Why are you with Li Gang? This kind of hooligan is not worth associating with. Sir, Gang Zi has been kicked out of the Tigers and is now begging on the street. How can I ignore him? So I accepted him. Han Fei spoke righteously, but Wang Jie didn't think so. Why did he hear a different version? Li Gang was kicked out of the Tigers because of you, didn't you? In the end, Wang Jie said thoughtfully, although training requires resources, you can't rely on them too much. There are only 7 days left until the fishing trial. You, take care. After Wang Jie and he Mingtang left, Li Gang was packing for Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin took a bite of the prawn and her eyes lit up. She swallowed the whole prawn in a few bites. She turned to look at Han Fei. Want to walk with me? Stunned for a moment, Han Fei said to Li Gang, Little Gang, pack up your stall. Take this bag of low-quality pearls with you. Prepare the materials for tomorrow and exchange them for mid-quality pearls. Li Gang, I'll handle it. Of course. How troublesome would it be to carry that bag of pearls? Li Gang was dumbfounded. What did he mean by trouble? It was all money. Do you think it's troublesome to carry money? Jiang Qin saw everything. When they walked out of the market, she said, There's no small fish tied in the sea, right? Han Fei certainly wouldn't admit it. Of course not. I was attacked by fish tides twice, and even my fishing boat was broken. However, Jiang Qin didn't respond. So you should pay for the fishing boat. Han Fei. Jiang Qin said, Forget it. Everyone has secrets. Just keep them to yourself. How did you manage to get those spirit fruits from the plantation? Han Fei said, Hey, I gave the old man some wine, and he gave it to me. Jiang Qin nodded faintly. He didn't know whether she believed him or not, but he just assumed that she did. However, Jiang Qin changed the topic and glanced at Han Fei. I heard that you haven't made any progress in the past 4 years, but you've been cultivating very fast recently. You're about to break through to the peak of level 6. What level is your spiritual heritage? Han Fei was shocked. This girl was probably not an ordinary person. He felt as if he had been seen through. Level 2, low quality. Jiang Qin was stunned and frowned slightly. It's not a good thing for children to lie. It depends on who they are hiding from. Sister Qin, I'm really level 2, low quality. In fact, I was level 1, high quality when I was tested at school, but then I got lucky and became level 2. Han Fei didn't intend to hide this. After all, the result of the test in front of the whole school was level 1, high quality. But if the girl asked him to test it again, it would be hard to explain. Huh? Jiang Qin turned her head sharply. A growable spiritual heritage? Han Fei quickly said, I ate a spiritual fruit. My brother left it to me. He didn't know whether Jiang Qin believed him or not. After walking for about 10 minutes, Jiang Qin said, Prepare for the fishing trial. The higher your ranking, the better if you want to continue to get spiritual fruits from the plantation. Han Fei nodded. Okay. After saying this, Jiang Qin left on her own. Han Fei was puzzled. What did she mean by that? When Han Fei returned home, it was already late. He checked his spiritual energy value, which was already more than 7,000 points, but he didn't intend to make a breakthrough immediately. He wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he wanted to save more spiritual energy. Maybe he could upgrade his spiritual heritage in one go, which required 10,000 points of spiritual energy. Maybe he could have a level 3 spiritual heritage soon. The next day, at the world's most delicious barbecue stall, Han Fei finally saw Little Red, whom Li Gang had been thinking about all the time. Li Gang said, Little Red, this is Young Master. Young Master is not an ordinary person. Han Fei was quite polite and nodded slightly, although this was obviously not in line with his 12-year-old age. But secretly, the corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. I thought Little Red was very beautiful, but Li Gang was always afraid that Little Red would run away. Damn it! Do you think everyone is like you? Looking for a woman who is as fat as you? Li Gang was at least 170 kilograms, but Little Red was not afraid of him at all. Han Fei even felt that Li Gang might not be able to beat her. It seemed that this guy was just arrogant outside, but he was also henpecked at home. Since the barbecue task was given to Li Gang and Little Red, Han Fei had nothing to do. He moved a small stool behind the barbecue stall and sat down to deliver seafood to Li Gang. Everything that passed through his hands died in Li Gang's hands. Today's turnover of the barbecue stall was less than half of yesterday's. After all, people could afford the half price yesterday, but it was suddenly restored to the original price today. Ordinary fishermen couldn't afford it. But fortunately, many people came because of the reputation. Li Gang explained to each person who came. When the sun was about to set, Han Fei's spiritual energy value had already exceeded 10,000 points, but he was as steady as an old dog. He would save it first. Li Gang said, "Young master, we don't have enough spiritual fruits. They will probably be used up in half a day tomorrow." Han Fei nodded. "Okay, Little Gang, you can have one of each. I'll go get some spiritual fruits." Hearing that Han Fei was going to get spiritual fruits, a vendor immediately came up to him. "Boy, is it easy to get spiritual fruits? Can you get some for me too?" Han Fei said with a simple smile, "Uncle, 1 mid-quality pearl for 1. Although the business of the world's most delicious barbecue stall is good, I actually don't make much money. I dare not go to the plantation to stock without 100 mid-quality pearls." Wow. The vendor counted with his fingers when he heard that it was 100 mid-quality pearls. Forget it, he couldn't afford it. Who the F***CK could afford that? 100 mid-quality pearls were equivalent to a high-quality pearl. Who in the entire Heavenly Water Village had a few high-quality pearls? Not a single person in the entire village was as rich as Han Fei. Sending the vendor away, Han Fei went to the plantation with 20 caddies of liquor and a bag of barbecue. Han Fei was also dumbfounded when he came to the plantation. He saw that the old man had a bunch of peanuts that had just been dug out of the ground and a bottle of liquor in front of him. Han Fei was speechless. The old man had learned such a classic way to eat peanuts by himself. The more he drank, the more delicious the peanuts tasted. Even Han Fei wanted to have a few bites. He had done this many times before. Every time he went to sea, he would bring a lot of peanuts with him. Boy, what's the smell? How can it emit such a fragrance? Han Fei walked over with a smile with the barbecue and liquor. "Grandpa, I told you that I wouldn't take anything from you for free. This is called barbecue. Why don't you try it?" The old man took a look. Ordinary little white fish, big clams. Then the old man's expression changed. "You're using these spiritual fruits with such coarse food? But it smells very good. I wonder how it tastes?" After a mouthful of the clam, the old man's face suddenly changed. His expression was so colorful that Han Fei was amused. Is this the white azure fruit?" The old man was full of disbelief. The white azure fruit was such a disgusting thing, but it had become a great delicacy. Han Fei pointed at the garlic and said, "It's crushed and roasted. Very good. How about it? Does it taste good?" The old man ate half of the clam in a row and then looked at Han Fei with scrutiny. "Boy, did you make this?" Han Fei said, "There is nothing useless in this world. People just don't know how to use it." The old man drank a mouthful of liquor and looked at Han Fei in a different way. The old man asked, "Boy, you said you want to help me take care of the garden?" Han Fei asked, "Can I?" The old man said, "Yes, but the wine this," Han Fei said, "barbecue." The old man said, "Yes, you have to provide for the wine and the barbecue." Han Fei grinned. "Okay, then I'll come to take care of the garden for you after the fishing trial. But I've used up the spiritual fruits I took from you the day before yesterday." The old man waved his hand indifferently. Yes. Well, no more than 100 kilograms each time." Hardly had Han Fei left when a woman appeared outside the house. "You agreed just like that, Grandpa Foodie?" The old man said, "This boy is not bad." The woman chuckled. Chapter 45. Li Gang asked, "Young master, the fishing trial is tomorrow. Don't you need to train yourself?" Han Fei was playing with a white fish. He nodded and said, "That's right. It's time for me to train myself." Li Gang, Han Fei used to be a nobody, but he became a public figure after he turned on a hack. It was exactly because he became a public figure that those who were interested in him temporarily gave up. In the cave, Han Fei began to practice the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing again. Even though Han Fei's physique had been greatly improved, he was still sweating profusely after 36 postures. After finishing all 108 postures for the first time, he was like a steamed prawn. For Han Fei, there was no bottleneck for him to become a level 7 fisher. All he needed was enough spiritual energy. If I don't make a breakthrough, practicing the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing won't increase the upper limit of spiritual energy. Let's just make a breakthrough. Han Fei looked at his own data. Owner Han Fei, level 6, intermediate fisher, spiritual energy greater than 48,201, 249, spiritual heritage, level 2, low quality, upgradable, weapon, purple bamboo rod, main art, void fishing, chapter 1, hook kiss, mortal level, divine quality. Han Fei couldn't have stopped smiling when he saw the data. If it weren't for the fact that the barbecue stall was so expensive that ordinary people couldn't afford it once, his spiritual energy would have been even greater. Han Fei sat cross-legged and took a deep breath. Break. In an instant, a green light shone from Han Fei's body, and a large amount of spiritual energy seemed to appear out of thin air, circulating on the surface of his body. However, this time, the calabash didn't swallow it, perhaps because it didn't care about ordinary spiritual energy. Han Fei felt that his bones were shivering and his body was expanding. His muscles seemed to be full of strength, and abundant spiritual energy was flushing inside his body. Han Fei entered the ranks of level 7 fishers, but he did not stop. Other people had to absorb spiritual energy to nourish themselves when they reached level 7. But Han Fei was not short of spiritual energy at all. The stored spiritual energy was still surging out, flushing Han Fei's bones, flesh, and internal organs all the time. It was not until his meridians began to expand and the heat became unbearable that he finally stopped the cultivation. He opened his eyes and stood up. Creaking sounds came from his body and his bones trembled. Han Fei felt that he was in an extremely good state at the moment. If he could kill Li Gang with a single blow when he was at the pinnacle of the 6th tier, he could do so with a casual blow now. Owner Han Fei level 7, advanced fisher, spiritual energy, 36008, 279, spiritual pulse. Level 2, low grade, upgradable, weapon, purple bamboo, staff main art. Void fishing, chapter 1. Hook kiss, mortal level, divine quality. Seeing that more than 12,000 points of spiritual energy had been consumed, Han Fei clicked his tongue. Did other people need so much spiritual energy to make a breakthrough? If it was necessary, other people probably had less than 200 points of spiritual energy. If they consumed 12,000 points of spiritual energy, wouldn't they be sucked dry? However, it never occurred to Han Fei that only by cultivating day and night at each level could his body accumulate from the beginning to the peak, while he broke through and directly reached the peak, ready to face the next barrier. How could it be the same? It was still late at night. Han Fei wondered if it was necessary to upgrade his spiritual pulse. After all, it only required 10,000 points of spiritual energy, but he gave up after thinking for a while. He was already high-profile enough. He had just boasted to Jiang Qin that his spiritual pulse had changed from level 1, high grade, to level 2, low grade. If he upgraded it from level 2, low grade, to level 3, would it cause trouble? However, he could finally see what the world of monster refinement was. Han Fei opened his palm, and with a thought, the calabash appeared in his palm. 5,000 points of spiritual energy are nothing to me now. Open. In a daze, Han Fei felt that the world was swirling and he couldn't see anything. When it was lit up again, he found himself in a circular space with a radius of 3 square meters. There was mud under his feet, which was a little wet. Around him, there was endless darkness, pure darkness, and he couldn't see anything. Han Fei was shocked. What the hell? Where is this? He carefully poked the black boundary with his finger, but there seemed to be a magical force blocking his way, like an invisible wall. A guess flashed in his mind. Was the world of monster refinement inside the calabash? Han Fei thought of the calabash in Journey to the West, which could suck Sun Wukong into it. Did his calabash have the same function? Wasn't it equivalent to the legendary space ring? No, I have to try it with Li Gang later and see if I can get him in. Huh, what if I turn him into nutrients? I'd better try the yellow croaker first. But this space is too small. Can it be bigger? As soon as Han Fei thought of this, he saw a stream of spiritual energy pouring in, and then the surrounding darkness retreated a little. The area seemed to be 4 square meters. Wow, spiritual energy can expand the land here. Forget it, I won't expand it. What if this thing consumes a lot of spiritual energy? But how can I get out? Han Fei tried to figure it out with his mind, and sure enough, he appeared in the same place in the next second. Han Fei looked at the data. His spiritual energy had become 30,008 points, which meant that he had just spent a total of 6,000 points of spiritual energy. In addition to 5,000 points to open forge the universe, the remaining 1,000 points should be used to expand the land. He tried to bring the item in, and sure enough, as he expected, with a thought, he really brought it in. After repeating this several times, he stuffed everything that could be stuffed into Forge the Universe. However, when he put the clam in, he found that there was some obscure resistance when he put the clam in. Is it because the clam is alive? But I did bring it in after all. Han Fei didn't know the limit of Forge the Universe, and he dared not really drag it in, which would only expose himself. However, since it could bring living things in, it suggested something. Just like this, Han Fei studied until the sky was slightly bright, and then he stopped. Today was the fishing trial. Tens of thousands of students would take part in it. Han Fei was full of confidence. He was at least a level 7 fisher. It wouldn't be a problem for him to advance to level 8 if he weren't afraid that other people might misunderstand him. At the school, everybody had arrived early. Some were talking and laughing, and some were very nervous. But Han Fei knew that they were all nervous. They were just joking to cover up their nervousness. He Xiaoyu grimaced at Han Fei the moment she saw him. Han Fei sensed that He Xiaoyu was different the moment he saw her. He asked in shock, "You've made a breakthrough?" He Xiaoyu asked in surprise, "You noticed it?" Han Fei said, "You look quite energetic. You must have made a breakthrough." He Xiaoyu said excitedly, "Haha. I made a breakthrough on the 2nd day after my father locked me at home. I've been consolidating my cultivation. I'm going to make it to the top 100 in this trial." Han Fei said, "Then work hard." He Xiaoyu asked, "What about you?" "My father said that you're opening a barbecue stall. It's really delicious. Can you give me a discount later?" Seeing that He Xiaoyu was almost drooling, Han Fei knew that the girl must have been thinking about it. Han Fei said, "Of course. You can give me as cheap as you want." He Xiaoyu asked, "How about 10 sea coins for a clam?" Shocked, Han Fei looked at He Xiaoyu gloomily. "You could buy a clam on the street for 10 sea coins. It might not be enough." He Xiaoyu said, "You can give me any discount you want." Han Fei thought for a moment and gave up. After all, He Xiaoyu seemed to be his only friend here except for Tang Ge. So, he waved his hand lazily and said, "Forget it. Don't ask for 10 sea coins. You can take it for free if you want. Just eat as much as you can. Don't waste it." "Really?" He Xiaoyu jumped in joy. Ever since her father brought the barbecue back for her, her head had been full of barbecue. She felt that it was the most wonderful taste in the world. Even the crimson sea fruit might not be as delicious as barbecue. "Attention, everybody!" At this moment, the principal roared at the operation room. "Students, you should know what the fishing trial means. But don't feel pressured. Just try your best. Remember, life is the most important thing." Chapter 46. On this day, thousands of boats sailed from the sky island of the heavenly water village. Not just the students, but also the parents came to see them off. Someone had tears in his eyes. The fishing trial was a test of life and death. All the students would try their best to fight for the ranking, no matter how weak they were. But the more they tried, the more dangerous it would be. Even if all the teachers, supervisors, and law enforcers of the 4 major schools of the Heavenly Water Village were mobilized, there would still be casualties. The best record in history was 10% dead, 30% wounded, and 60% alive. It was the highest survival rate ever. On the surface of the sea, all the 12-year-old children of the Heavenly Water Village were gathered. The village leader floated his boat and shouted, "Same as before, the assessment will be based on points. You will be graded according to the level of your catch. The top 1,000 may be qualified for spiritual awakening. However, everyone must remember to act within your means and not try to show off." Everyone listened attentively, and no one became impatient. Outside of the assessment circle, countless parents were roaring, "Sons, it's more important to stay alive. Listen to the village leader and don't force yourself." Someone shouted, "Daughters, it doesn't matter if you can't pass the trial. There's still a chance for natural awakening." Someone shouted, "Children, give up if you can't defeat the enemy." Someone roared, "Be careful of other boats." Han Fei looked for Tango everywhere, but there were too many fishing boats. Where could he find him? He Xiaoyu, on the other hand, was cheering for him not far away. The village leader said, "Attention, everybody. The fishing time is 12 hours. Whoever is rescued by the inspectors will automatically end the trial. The assessment will begin in half an hour." The sea breeze was not strong. The rising sun dyed the surface of the sea gold, and several black spots appeared on the blue sky. When they got closer, they saw several fishing boats coming at them. Someone exclaimed, "Hey, that's the exclusive boat of the Tigers. Li Hu hasn't shown up recently. It's said that he's trying to become a level 8 fisher. There's no telling if he succeeded or not." Someone pointed to the other side. "Look, it's the boat of the Wang family. Wang Baiyu is the only one from the Wang family who is participating in the trial this year. It's said that he's a promising armorist." Many people didn't know what an armorist was. They were all confused, but it sounded very powerful. "Look over there. It's Xia Wushuang, the strongest heavenly talent of the Western School and the only one with a low-quality level 4 spiritual heritage in the Heavenly Water Village this year. That's young man from the North Campus. I heard that he became a level 8 fisher the day before yesterday." Han Fei was speechless. What does he mean? We have to gather at the school and then come at the main force. Why did they allow these people to come so late at night? Did they really have to come here to show off? However, just as this thought flashed through their minds, everyone's gazes turned to the east. Above the horizon, there seemed to be a figure walking through the air. It was as if the two of them had walked out of the sun and were illuminated by the rising sun. Needless to say, everyone was silent. This evildoer had arrived. It was none other than Tang Ge, who had been taken away by Fong Zhe for many days. No one would say that it was unfair. Was a grade 7 spiritual vein something that could be decided by fairness? In fact, everybody had already acknowledged Tang Ge as the champion of this fishing trial. Who else was qualified to win the first place except for him? Fong Zhe was still indifferent. He waved his hand, and a white, luxurious fishing boat appeared on the sea, in sharp contrast to the thousands of fishing boats in front of him. Fong Zhe said, "Don't worry about the fishing trial. In any case, the first place is already yours. But after this spiritual awakening, you should say goodbye to this small place." Tang Ge looked around in the crowd and saw that Han Fei was waving his hand. He grinned and waved back. Fong Zhe narrowed his eyes. He had seen through Han Fei's strength at a glance. A level 7 fisher might be good in a small place, but it was nothing in the city. Most of the kids in the city were fishing masters at least. Han Fei didn't stand out before, so he didn't think that his spiritual heritage was very talented. However, since he was Tang Ji's brother, he might as well befriend him later. At this moment, the village leader came to Fong Zhe respectfully. "Master Angel, when do you want to start?" Fong Zhe said, "Didn't we set a time? Let's do it according to the time." Then, Fong Zhe glanced at the crowd and said casually, I can promise the top 3 of this trial is spirit concentration art. Everybody work hard. Wow. The sea was in an uproar. Although many people didn't know what spirit concentration art was, it was a reward promised by the angel. They had never heard of it before. It must be something beyond their imagination. Many people's eyes glowed when Feng Zhe said that. Wang Baiyu was excited. The Wang family focused on armorists and established itself as an armorist. If he could learn the spirit concentration art, he might be able to be an armorist and a spirit gatherer at the same time. By then, he would be one of the best in the town. Li Hu's eyes glowed, and his chest was full of excitement. The tigers were suppressed by the Wang family because they didn't have an expert in any of the 5 major professions. If he could get spirit concentration art, he might be able to become a spirit gatherer. By then, he wouldn't have to fear the Wang family at all. Han Fei didn't feel anything, but he remembered the armorist of the Wang family he saw in a market the other day. But no matter how powerful he was, his trump cards were much stronger than this. Besides, he could compete for the spirit concentration art. The village leader was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. It would be great if there could be a spirit gatherer in the village who might lead the heavenly water village to greater heights. The village leader shouted with a ruddy face, "Attention, everyone. The assessment begins." As the village leader shouted, the 10,000 fishing boats immediately dispersed and went to their respective fishing spots. Some people couldn't wait any longer and began to cast their hooks without even moving their fishing boats. Because it was a trial, there were no 8 people sharing a fishing boat at this time. Each person had a fishing boat, and how many points one could get depended on one's ability. Han Fei was not in a hurry. He drove his fishing boat to Tangge. So did Tangge. Tangge laughed. Han Fei, did you make a breakthrough again? Han Fei also grinned. Yes, I'm making rapid progress now. A fishing trial is not a problem at all. Tangge nodded. That's good. That's good. What I left for you, Han Fei said solemnly. Don't practice that mystic body technique. I can feel that there are major flaws in it. Tangge was stunned. Huh? Han Fei said, it doesn't matter how I know it. Just don't practice it. Tangge said, I didn't practice it. What about you? Han Fei said, don't worry, I didn't practice it either. Let's meet after the fishing trial. I have something to tell you. Tangge said, okay, then let's choose a place to start fishing. At this moment, Feng Zhe appeared. He glanced at Han Fei casually and said to Tangge, don't go with him. If you go with him, he may not catch a single fish with your current strength and the noise you make when fishing. Tangge looked at Han Fei awkwardly. Han Fei said, just go by yourself. Your goal is the sea of stars. Work hard. Feng Zhe was stunned. He thought that Han Fei would beg Tangge to help him, but he didn't expect that Han Fei didn't ask for anything. The sea of stars was not a bad phrase. Tangge said, but you, Han Fei smiled brightly. Don't worry. Don't let me catch up to you. My destination is the infinite ocean. It's as good as yours. Then, Han Fei steered the boat away quickly. Feng Zhe slightly shook his head. The kid was truly arrogant. The infinite ocean? Do you know what the infinite ocean is? Well, ignorance is bliss. However, considering the kid's wisdom, he might become a great fishing master in the future. Han Fei was not in a hurry to fish. He knew that there were too many resources in this ocean. He could catch fish anywhere. However, he didn't want to be too close to other people, mainly in case they saw his extraordinary fishing abilities. Han Fei drove 500 kilometers away. There were only a few fishing boats 1,000 meters away. Then he stopped and unhurriedly took out his fishing rod and put on the bait. Because he was fishing according to the level of the fish in the general fishery, Han Fei's target was not the fish below 5 points. For example, white fish were only worth 1 point, yellow fish were worth 3 points, green turtles were worth 5 points, blade fish were worth 7 points, tentacle lobsters were worth 8 points, and snake belts were worth 9 points. A meat turtle was worth 20 points. A rarely seen spirit-absorbing jellyfish was worth 30 points, and some ironhead fish were worth 12 points. In addition to these ordinary fish, it was said that in this sea area, some spirit-swallowing fish and pearl fish with low attack power were driven into the level 1 fishery by the fishing masters, which were both worth 15 points. However, few people could catch such fish. It was only to increase the difficulty of the trial. Chapter 47. 5 meters below was the territory of the blade fish and the green turtles. It was possible to catch the snake belts if it was deeper. However, the snake belts preferred warm water and were not interested in the bait, so they were not easy to catch. This time, Hanfei was not afraid of wasting spiritual energy. The spiritual energy was transmitted to the fishing line and the hook through the rod. Everything around the hook was under his control. Suddenly, Hanfei's expression changed. He jerked the rod and retracted it. It was a blade fish. At the same time, the purple bamboo rod appeared in his hand. The moment the blade fish was broken, a cold light flashed. Holding the rod in one hand, Hanfei waved the purple bamboo rod in his left hand casually. Clink! The shoddy fin knife stabbed into the cover of the cabin, and Hanfei smashed it down. The blade fish's head was dented, and he kicked it into the cabin. He had earned 7 points. After only 2 hours, Hanfei met the inspectors 4 times. Every time the inspectors came, Hanfei pretended to be diligent, but he was relaxed again after the inspectors left. In the 2 hours, Hanfei caught 13 blade fish and 8 green turtles, for a total of 131 points. When the 2 hours passed, a voice came from the sky. The village leader shouted, "The first place in this fishing trial has 241 points, and the 10th place has 142 points. Keep it up, everybody." Hanfei was stunned. "Village leader, are you kidding me? I'm already very fast, but I only have 131 points. Are those people all beasts? Why are their scores so high? Even the 10th place has a higher score than me?" At this moment, far away, Wang Baiyu bellowed, "Weapon armor, hook technique." A long hook emerged from a box next to Wang Baiyu and entered the water. Then a blade fish jumped out of the water. As the blade fish flashed, Wang Baiyu did not even look at it. He simply roared, "Weapon shield." It was a shield made of turtle shells. It had appeared before Wang Baiyu at some point, and the shoddy fin knife was immediately blown away when it hit the shield. On the other side, Li Hu said gloomily, "Who has already got 242 points? Tangu. I wonder how many points Wang Baiyu has. It should be close to 200, right?" Li Hu smiled coldly and shouted, "Who ya kill?" In the sea, a 3-meter-long, hideous fish with a hideous head broke out of the water and spat out a baby ironhead fish onto the boat. This was Li Hu's secret. Everyone knew that his father, Li Ju, had a tiger-head fish, but no one knew that he also had one. As for Tangu, he had seen a lot of the world with Fong Zhe these days, even in the level 3 fishery. He had seen all kinds of attack methods of different fish species. What Fong Zhe taught him were the most practical fishing techniques and fishing techniques. At this moment, Tangu seemed to be performing a mysterious technique. As Tangu moved, a pillar of spiritual energy fell on the surface of the sea, and then fish popped up, and Tangu only needed to catch them casually. If Wang Baiyu, Li Hu, or other teachers were here, they would be shocked. Isn't this the spirit gathering art? It turned out that Tangu had learned the spirit concentration technique. With this technique, fishing in the ordinary fishery was like playing house. Apart from the heavenly talents, it was not so easy for the others. It was even bloody. A student from the southern campus had only scored 40 points. It was not a bad score, but he was too eager and put the hook 6 meters below the ground. Then, a huge saber, came at him so fast that the patrolman did not even have time to react before the student was beheaded. 6 students from a northern campus were not far away. They were smart enough to buy a lot of green bait and throw them into the sea, hoping to build a nest. However, 3 tentacle lobsters were attracted, and only 3 of the 6 students escaped. The other 3 were all dragged into the sea. In the eastern campus, a girl who had scolded Hanfei before was so unlucky that she caught a ball fish. Even the teachers didn't expect that the ball fish would be caught. As a result, 108 flying needles flew all over the sky and pierced through the girl. Such things happen in many places. The inspectors had no time to react. After all, they were not fishing together. As for the disability rate, it was even higher. Many students would choose the blade fish if they wanted to accumulate points, but could all the students really dodge that knife? At least half of them couldn't, because the saber was too fast. Even if they had weapons, 30% of them would still be disabled. Another 2 hours passed. Han Fei was more efficient than before. The green bait he caught earlier cost him 131 points. This time, he also hammered a tentacle lobster, caught 17 blade fish, and caught 6 green turtles. His total score was 289 points. Han Fei spat. He should be in the top 10 now, right? If he didn't have enough spiritual energy, he wouldn't have been able to catch so many fish. Fishermen below level 7 would have taken spirit refilling pills or started cultivating or eating to recover. The village leader's announcement came from the sky again. The first place in this fishing trial has 482 points, and the 10th place has 298 points. Keep it up, everyone. Han Fei was stunned. Are you kidding me? Are these people really students? They should have run out of spiritual energy a long time ago. It never occurred to Han Fei that the top few were all the best in the village. Who didn't have spirit refilling pills? Of course, spirit refilling pills alone weren't enough, but they all had their own tricks. Xiaoyu was not panicked at all. She had 212 points. Her father gave her 3 spirit refilling pills before she came. She thought that it would be great if Xiaoyu could make it to the top 100 with her talent. Little did he Mingtang know that Han Fei gave Xiaoyu 3 spirit refilling pills to steal the knowledge of spiritual energy explosion. Han Fei said gloomily, "Fine, you forced me to do this. You're competing with me for the spirit concentration art, aren't you? You're competing with me for the place of the awakening spirit, aren't you? Come on, watch me suck." Han Fei made up his mind and activated the void fishing art. In an instant, Han Fei's hands were burning. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. He had already prepared a bucket by the side and immediately put his hand into it. If Fong Zhe had been watching this, his eyes would have popped out of his head. Was he not afraid that he would explode when he attracted spiritual energy into his body under the sun? In the next moment, the spiritual energy here was slightly rioting. Han Fei saw a shoal of fish and a few knives swimming at him. Han Fei immediately cast the hook. As he expected, a fish bit the hook, but it was not a blade fish but a green turtle. However, Han Fei didn't mind it at all. He immediately retracted his rod and knocked the green turtle out without caring about the flying stones at all. But when the spiritual energy here was rioting, Fong Zhe frowned. Huh, why did I sense the essence of the sun just now? Was it an illusion? 2 patrol inspectors who were nearby also sensed the abnormality here and hurried over. Then the 2 inspectors were shocked. When they arrived, they saw Han Fei jumping up and smashing the head of a tentacle lobster with a stick. Then, 2 seconds after Han Fei cast the hook, a streak of cold light shot out of the water, but he blocked it with a casual wave of his rod. The 2 inspectors saw that there were as many as 30 knives on the roof, deck, and body of Han Fei's boat. One of the inspectors boarded the boat and said after a glance, "Students from the Eastern Campus? Huh, they're all blade fish, a few green turtles, and 2 tentacle lobsters." The other inspector had come to count the score. Seeing that there were more knives on Han Fei's boat, he shook his head and said to the inspector, "Let's go. He's Han Fei, Tang Ji's brother." The other inspector understood. It was true that only geniuses could call each other brothers. They were truly strong. Ignoring the 2 teachers, Han Fei paused for a moment. It's not a good idea to have all the knives on the boat. Will I expose my strength? Forget it. I'd better put the knives away. Far away, Li Hu was stunned and looked at the tiger-headed fish. Huh, are there fish over there? The tiger-headed fish squeaked like a human. Li Hu asked, "Someone's over there? So what? Let's rob him." Chapter 48. Therefore, cheating in exams was a great thing. Han Fei was quite happy at this moment. In only a quarter of an hour, he had collected 10 blade fish. That wasn't a bad score, was it? Even Tang Ji's score of nearly 500 was not much higher than his. Unfortunately, it was just a hasty test just now. The number of riding fishes had decreased by quite a bit. He reckoned that he would have to cheat again soon. When Han Fei was about to cast a hook, he saw a fishing boat approaching quickly hundreds of meters away. Who's here? What are you doing here instead of fishing? If someone comes, doesn't that mean I can't cheat? Gloomily, Han Fei stopped what he was doing and looked at the ship. When the boat approached, Han Fei saw the young man standing at the bow. Isn't this the young master of the tigers? What? Could it be that you want to establish a relationship with me? Of course, his father thought that he had really offended Tang Ge, but it was not a bad idea to give me some points. When Li Hu's boat approached, Han Fei didn't stop him. Instead, he said with a smile, "Fine, I won't blame you for that. Just give me 100 or 200 points. I don't need more than that. Otherwise, it won't be good if I stand out." Li Hu. Li Hu looked down, only to discover that some blade fish were swimming by. He then looked at Han Fei's open cabin, which seemed to contain a lot of blade fish. He narrowed his eyes. Li Hu said, "I'll give you a chance. Offer the fish in your cabin to me, and I'll give you a chance to follow me." Huh? No, wait. Are you asking me to offer the fish to you? Li Hu, not bad. You also said that I would only have a chance to follow you after I offer the fish to you? Li Hu said impatiently, "Yes." Han Fei was speechless. Was this guy crazy? His father didn't do anything to him, and he wanted to rob him? Hey, was your head hit by an ironhead fish when you were a kid? Li Hu was at a loss at first. Then he seemed to come to his senses and said coldly, "How dare you?" Speechless, Han Fei said impatiently, "Get lost. I'll count to 3. If you don't get lost, I'll blow up your head." Li Hu's eyes revealed an ominous glint. This person actually dared to reject him, which immediately made his ferocious nature rise. Li Hu said coldly, "Do you know why the casualty rate of every fishing trial is as high as 40 to 50%? I don't care if it's 40% or 50%. Are you going to get lost or not?" Li Hu shouted angrily, "You're courting death." With that, Li Hu took out 2 knives and slashed at Han Fei. Seeing Han Fei's attitude and tone, he couldn't even go on. He had to kill him today. Han Fei waved the purple bamboo rod to block it. He didn't expect Li Hu to dare to attack. Was this guy crazy? He wanted to say, "Don't you want the tigers?" However, the saber had already slashed at him heavily. Han Fei was stunned. This was not the power of a level 7 expert. Was this guy a level 8 fisher? But so what if you're at the 8th level? I can still smash your head. You asked for it. In an instant, spiritual energy surged in Han Fei's body, and the purple bamboo rod fiercely smashed down at the 2 knives. Li Hu didn't seem to expect Han Fei to be so strong. After only 1 attack, he felt that his arms were numb and his hand were cracked. Han Fei bashed him and cursed. "Who gave you the courage to pick up 2 knives? Other people use sticks, but you only use knives. Are you trying to show off your capabilities?" As he spoke, he swept the purple bamboo rod. Chilled, Li Hu jumped back quickly. However, to his surprise, the tail of the rod was accompanied by a cold light. His first thought was why the rod was emitting knife light, but in the next moment, the clothes on his abdomen were torn apart, revealing the fishbone armor inside. Huh, you're wearing clothes inside. No wonder it looked weird just now. What's so great about you having clothes? I'll blow up your head. Li Hu said, "Very good. You pissed me off. Tiger head, why don't you call me along when you're fighting here?" When Han Fei was about to attack again, a voice came from 100 meters away. Han Fei and Li Hu looked back, only to see that it was none other than Wang Baiyu, the 3rd young master of the Wang family. Wang Baiyu was quite surprised too. He saw people fighting from a distance and found that it was Li Hu when he got closer. What surprised him was not Li Hu, but Han Fei. Wang Baiyu didn't expect that Han Fei could be on par with Li Hu. This guy was very different. With a cold face, Li Hu put away his knives, jumped to his fishing boat, and left quickly. Li Hu stood on the bow of the boat. "Boy, no matter who you are, pray to the sea god. I'll make you die a horrible death." Han Fei said, "Idiot, if you dare to come again, I'll send you to the sea god." Wang Baiyu was stunned. This man was so fierce. Why didn't he know that there was a man who dared to fight Li Hu in the Heavenly Water Village? Wang Baiyu asked, "Han Fei, what a coincidence. Why did you fight Li Hu?" Han Fei still owed Wang Baiyu a favor. He shrugged and said, That idiot came to me and asked me to offer the fish to him. Do you think he's stupid? Wang Baiyu. Wang Baiyu asked, you don't know. Han Fei asked, what do I know? Wang Baiyu said, the casualty rate. Why do you think the casualty rate of the fishing trial is so high? Han Fei asked, isn't it because of the dangers during fishing? Wang Baiyu looked at Han Fei, lost for words. How is it possible? Even if there are dangers during fishing, it's still a minority. How can a casualty rate be so high? The real trial doesn't begin until the last 4 hours. Han Fei was surprised. Huh? What do you mean? Wang Baiyu said with a smile. In fact, the casualty rate of fishing is sometimes less than 10%. Most of the casualties are from the fights between the trial takers. Han Fei asked, huh? Can the trial takers fight each other? Wang Baiyu said, logically speaking, they can't, but they can on the day of the fishing trial. In the first 6 hours, everybody will fish peacefully and nobody will cause trouble for each other. For hours before the trial begins, only the results of the 1st and the 10th will be announced, so that everybody can be prepared. The result of the 100th will be announced in the 6th hour. The result of the 1000th will be announced in the 4th hour, which is the most dangerous. When the result of the 1000th comes out, you will know, right? Those who don't have enough points will start to fight and loot. Han Fei asked, why didn't I know? Isn't this rule a trap? Why did the school and the parents agree to it? Wang Baiyu was wondering why Han Fei didn't know it either, but he still explained, because we are cultivators and the ocean is cruel. Do you think the danger only comes from the water? No, it's very likely to come from your companions or other people who are going to rob you. This kind of thing is not uncommon in the level 1 fishery and the level 2 fishery. It's just that there is no need to fight for the points in the ordinary fishery. Han Fei took a deep breath. So, if I'm strong enough, I don't actually need to fish but just rob? Wang Baiyu nodded. Theoretically, yes. What a loss, what a loss. Wang Baiyu asked, what loss? Han Fei said, that I let Li Hu go. Otherwise, all his points would be mine. Wang Baiyu. After that, Han Fei glanced at Wang Baiyu's fish cabin. Wang Baiyu's fish cabin must have a lot of points. Wang Baiyu. Brother Han. Han Fei said, oh, it's nothing. I'm just taking a look, right? Why are you here, Brother Wang? Wang Baiyu smiled and said, I sensed spiritual waves in this place just now, so I came take a look out of curiosity. I happened to run into Brother Han and Li Hu fighting. Wang Baiyu observed Han Fei again. Other people might not know, but he knew very well why Li Hu was so arrogant. With a tiger head fish and the strength of a level 8 fisher, even he would have to be careful when dealing with him. He did not expect that Han Fei would be so tough as to confront him directly. But that was not what Han Fei was thinking. Even fishers could sense the waves of spiritual energy here. Does that mean I can't cheat anymore? Well, how could he play if he couldn't cheat? Was he going to rob them? That was not a bad idea. It was simple, violent, and effective. While he was thinking, Han Fei said, oh, you're talking about spiritual energy fluctuations. I don't know. Maybe it's because I ran into a shoal of fish, but now the shoal is almost gone. I don't know where they went. Maybe I can find them nearby. Forget it. I'm going to rob them. Chapter 49. After parting with Wang Baiyu, Han Fei did not rob them immediately. Instead, he moved to another place and ran dozens of kilometers away. However, he did not dare to cheat again. If his guess was correct, Li Hu and the 2 inspectors were attracted by the spiritual waves too. Han Fei was certain that Feng Zhe must have sensed the spiritual waves here, but he was too lazy to come. Now that he was almost exposed, he couldn't use it anymore. The best thing to do now was to fish naturally and prepare to rob them. In the 6th hour, Han Fei's score had risen to 480 points because of the outburst of spiritual energy. At this moment, the village leader announced, the first place in this fishing trial has 691 points, and the 10th place has 478 points. Keep it up, everyone. For the first time, Han Fei's score was in the 10th place. He should be in the 9th place. Since the robberies won't begin until the last 4 hours, I might as well fish first. Han Fei continued fishing, but it was much easier and less stressful. He even took out the barbecue that Li Gang prepared for him and enjoyed it. However, Han Fei still underestimated the people in the fishing trial. About half an hour after the 6th hour, 2 boats came to him. When the boats approached, one of the young men smiled and said, "Bro, hand over your points." The young man on the other boat said, "You'd better hand over all your points if you want to survive, or we'll feed you to the fish." Holding a roasted prawn in his hand, Han Fei stared at the young men on the boats and said, "You're really good at forming alliances?" One of the young men frowned. Looking at Han Fei's fearlessness, he wondered if he was a tough guy. But if he was tough, why was he fishing alone in such a remote place? Shouldn't he be robbing them? The young man said tentatively, "Why don't you join us and form an alliance? We'll split the spoils evenly. What do you think?" The other young man objected. "Why do we have to ally with him? You should look for someone from our school. We've never seen him before." Han Fei smiled. "That's right. You don't have to ally with me, because you're already eliminated." After that, Han Fei jumped up and slashed at one of the young men. "You're shameless. You're ambushing." Clang. The young man spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. The young man's eyes were filled with fear. Who the hell did I offend? I'm a peak level 6 fisher, but the rod just now seemed to have hit an adult ironhead fish. It couldn't be blocked at all, okay? Another young man was about to come over to help with his iron rod, but before he could take a step, his ally knelt down. Then he was stunned. That guy was stronger than him, but he knelt down in one hit. Han Fei pointed the purple bamboo rod at the young man lazily and said, If you know what's good for you, move all the fish in your cabin to my cabin. I won't hurt you. Chances are that you'll have a chance to rob other people." The young man sweated. What the F***CK was going on? What happened to finding Newbie? She was the first person they had snatched. He actually encountered the great Demon King. Was this even appropriate? I'll carry it. The boy was about to cry. Why did they drive the fishing boat so close? There was no chance for him to run. Han Fei stopped fishing and chatted with the boy. "Which school are you from? What's his name?" The boy said. "North Campus." Song Jun. Han Fei asked, "Has the fight already begun outside?" Song Jun said, It's only just begun. Someone is already taking action." Han Fei said, Hey, throw the little white fish before me, not into my cabin." Song Jun nervously threw the little white fish before Han Fei. Han Fei touched it and then tossed it into the ocean. Song Jun's face turned green. The little white fish were points too. Why did Han Fei throw it away? When Song Jun picked up the yellow fish, Han Fei said again, "Hey, throw the yellow fish before me too." Song Jun. Then Song Jun saw that the yellow fish was thrown into the ocean again, and he felt like 10,000 ironhead fish were crashing in his heart. "Brother, what are you doing? Aren't the little white fish points? The yellow fish is 3 points, isn't it?" Han Fei mumbled. "What can I do if such a big fish fills up my cabin with points?" Song Jun. Very soon, the cabins of Song Jun and the other boy were emptied. There were 10 blade fish and 24 green turtles in total. Han Fei frowned. "Why are there so few blade fish? Why did you catch so many green turtles? They're so big that my cabin is almost full." "Fine, you can continue. I'm leaving." Song Jun almost wished that Han Fei would leave as soon as possible. Look at how much he despised the green turtles. Each of them was worth 5 points. Han Fei sailed the boat to the crowded place unhurriedly. With one foot on the head of the boat, he felt that all he needed was a cigarette, a hat, and a blindfold. This feels great. No wonder the Somali pirates love robbing. It feels great. The site of the fishing trial wasn't large. It only had a radius of 100 square kilometers, but it was still relatively large for the 10,000 boats. But at this moment, at the edge of the sea, some boats were already forming alliances. The lone fishing boats that didn't have time to form alliances were undoubtedly the best targets for robbery. At this moment, the inspectors didn't really care about anything. The village leader heaved a long sigh. "Alas, the annual slaughter has begun again. I only hope that those kids won't be so violent." Feng Zhe, on the head of Tang Ji's boat, felt nothing. He said lazily, "You need to learn how to plunder. The world above was much crueler than this place. Whoever's fist was bigger was the law. The hunter and the prey were completely dependent on one's choice. Look at those young men. They've fished for so long, only to be taken by someone else in the blink of an eye. They're just too weak. As for the alliance of 3 to 5 people, you'd better not learn this kind of thing. Maybe this kind of so-called alliance is useful for those below the realm of great fishing master, but as your strength gets stronger and stronger, the difference of a small realm will be huge. No matter how many people there are, kill them all. Tang Ji's face was gloomy. Although he knew that this would happen, he was too young to experience it. Just now, not far away from him, a student on a fishing boat was mercilessly killed and his body was thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Of course, cultivation was a bumpy road. He couldn't save others, but he wanted to look for Han Fei. Fang Zhe didn't stop him, but said casually, "Okay, go ahead. You must learn the most important lesson." With that, Fang Zhe disappeared, leaving Tang Gu alone on the surface of the sea. There was not a single fishing boat within thousands of meters. On the periphery, Han Fei was surrounded again. He was alone. Han Fei was shocked. "Hey, who are you?" Everybody burst into laughter when they saw Han Fei's cowardice. One of the girls said arrogantly, "You over there, if you hand over the fish in the cabin obediently, we might spare your life. Otherwise, prepare to die." Han Fei was horrified. "You have 4 boats. Who am I going to give them to? You can take them yourself, as long as you don't kill me." They looked at each other and realized that it did make sense. That was the disadvantage of an alliance. Every robbery had to be divided equally. So, they boarded Han Fei's boat with their sticks. The moment they boarded, Han Fei suddenly picked up the purple bamboo rod. The girl who spoke slightly changed her expression. "Do you want to die?" I always thought that girls should be different from boys, but it seems that there's no difference at all. Do you think you're strong just because you've got a few people with you? Who gave you the courage to do this? One of the boys' expressions changed greatly. Not good. His cabin is full of blade fish. Immediately, all 4 of them changed their expression. What did it mean that his cabin was full of blade fish? It meant that this man was extremely tough. He was definitely a heavenly talent, if so many knives didn't hurt him at all. The girl shouted, "Fight!" However, as soon as he shouted, a rod fell from the sky. The girl subconsciously raised the rod to block it. With a clang, the refined iron rod bent, and the girl was directly smashed into the boat. Her hand was already a bloody mess. The other 3 boys raised their rods at the same time. However, the purple bamboo rod surged with spiritual energy and swept away 2 boys who didn't have time to retreat. One of them fell into the sea, and the other flew back to his boat. Han Fei frowned. He didn't expect the boy to be so weak. He walked to the edge of the boat, intending to rescue him, but the boy was nowhere to be seen. The last boy ran back to his boat in fear, but before he controlled the boat, Han Fei had already stood on his boat. Chapter 50. Han Fei wandered on his own happily. He had dealt with 3 groups of people in the same way. At this moment, 5 of the 8 cabins on his boat had been filled. In the meantime, an inspector came to count the points. The inspector was stunned when the score was calculated. 1,012 points? It had only been 2 hours, and someone had already scored more than 1,000 points. In the 6th hour, Tang Gu, the first place, only had 691 points. This person was obviously not Tang Gu, but he had easily scored more than 1,000 points. If he could maintain such a score, he would definitely be among the top hundreds, even if he did nothing else. About a moment later, the village leader's voice echoed again. There are 4 hours to go before the end of this fishing trial. So far, the first place has 1,431 points, the 10th has 966 points, the 100th has 552 points, and the 1,000th has 241 points. Keep up the good work, everyone. After the 4th broadcast, the whole sea area was seething. The score was increasing more and more crazily. In the blink of an eye, the top 10 had already scored more than 1,000 points. At this moment, those who had teamed up were looking for targets, and those who hadn't found allies either went to their allies or started to run to the edge of the trial field. Some people even activated the distress device on their boat and gave up the game when they saw a boat coming at them from afar. There were indeed a lot of people like that. Some level 6 fishers would fish in an empty corner and get hundreds of points. Then, they would end the trial as soon as they saw someone coming at them. There were many such cases in the past, but when the score was finally calculated, some of them could always make it to the top 1,000. But different from others, Han Fei wandered on his own, relying on his inexhaustible spiritual energy and his high level. But some people were different. Wang Baiyu and Li Hu were very different. They didn't move at all, but many boats came to them and offered all their gains to them. Wang Baiyu was similar to Han Fei. His Wang family had much more connections than the tigers, so he could wander while eating sea melon seeds. Li Hu was different. Although some boats came to him to offer points, they were mostly the kids of the tigers. So, he knew that he couldn't rely on these people. He had to rob them himself. But Li Hu was different from Han Fei. Han Fei was waiting for others to rob his lonely fishing boat. Li Hu took the initiative to rob those fishing boats in groups of 3 or 5. Not only did he rob, but he also liked to kill people. Almost no one who encountered Li Hu could survive. He Xiaoyu was in a panic. Although she had made a breakthrough, she was no match for a pack of wolves. Just now, 3 boats came to rob her, but they underestimated He Xiaoyu's strength and were defeated by her. But because of this, He Xiaoyu's spiritual energy was exhausted too, and she had to take a spirit refilling pill. At this moment, she only had 1 spirit supplement pill left. At this moment, 4 boats approached from 4 directions. He Xiaoyu was desperate. Although she had just looted some points, could she survive this time? The last remaining supplement spirit pill absolutely could not be used in battle. He Xiaoyu was ready to fight. She had 2 plans. One was to defeat these 4 people, rob their points, and admit defeat after the last spirit refilling pill was used up. The other was to run to the periphery. After all, she still had a spirit supplement pill. If she used it, they might not be able to catch up with her. But when the boats were about to surround He Xiaoyu, a strong fish leaped out of the water, followed by a boat that was sailing at the highest speed. One of the fishing boats didn't pay attention to it and was approached by Li Hu. Li Hu stepped forward and slashed with 2 knives in his hands. The young man on the boat had multiple holes in his body when he raised his rod to fight back. As Li Hu drew out his daggers, the young man vomited blood crazily. He Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. She was so scared that her face turned pale at the violent killing. Someone on another boat shouted, "Run! It's Li Hu from the Tigers! Run!" However, before he could finish his words, a ferocious tiger-headed fish appeared behind him. As the others cried out in alarm, he turned around and felt his vision go black. To be precise, his head was gone. "Ah!" He Xiaoyu screamed. She was scared to see the headless body spurting blood. Li Hu frowned. "Shut up." He Xiaoyu hurried to pick up the bamboo rod, ready to run. But it was fine that she did not take the bamboo rod. After all, there were 2 other boats here. She might have a chance to escape. But Li Hu saw the bamboo rod immediately. He knew that it couldn't be a regular person who could afford it. He shouted, "Tiger Head, kill her!" At this moment, He Xiaoyu was already controlling the boat to run, but the boat was not as fast as the tiger-headed fish. The big fish leaped out of the water again and charged at He Xiaoyu. When He Xiaoyu talked about the bamboo stick, spiritual light flashed on the stick, and the tip of the stick gathered. Li Hu roared, "Tiger Head, come back!" But in the blink of an eye, He Xiaoyu was knocked back by the tiger head and hit the deck. Blood was flowing out of her mouth. Of course, the tiger-headed fish seemed to be slightly wounded too, but she did not dare to stay and hurried to flee on the boat. Li Hu had become a cold-blooded killer. "You want to run after hurting the tiger head?" Li Hu simply abandoned the other 2 people and went straight to He Xiaoyu. The remaining 2 heaved a long sigh of relief and horror. But before they were relieved, 5 or 6 fishing boats had surrounded them from all directions. One of them said desperately, "Not good. They're from the tigers." He Xiaoyu ran fast. She felt lucky that they did not fight just now, or she would have run out of spiritual energy. She would have been killed if she encountered Li Hu. The 2 boats were only a few hundred meters away from each other. He Xiaoyu shouted while she ran, "Li Hu, do you know who my father is?" "My father is He Mingtang." Li Hu roared, "My father is Li Ju. What can you do to me even if I kill you?" He Xiaoyu said, "You lunatic, I'll quit the trial if you keep chasing me." Li Hu said, "It will be too late when the inspectors come to save you." He Xiaoyu felt wronged. Who did I piss off? Why are they chasing me? I'm already level 7, but I'm still being chased. Half an hour later, Xiaoyu's eyes glittered. She saw an expert from her school. Qin, he helped me. The boy named Qin, he was only at the peak of level 6. Seeing that Xiaoyu was being chased by Li Hu, he simply slipped away. Do you think I dare to mess with the tigers? Xiaoyu scolded. Asshole. On her way, Xiaoyu called for help whenever she met anyone, but the boats avoided her as if she were the plague. Nobody was willing to piss off Li Hu for her. Xiaoyu ran out of spiritual energy. She swallowed the last spirit-refilling pill without hesitation, and her spiritual energy was immediately replenished. At this moment, she saw Hu Kuan, who was robbing someone else. She immediately cried, Hun Kuan, help! Hu Kuan had just reached level 7 yesterday, so he was bold enough to rob 2 boats on his own. Seeing that Xiaoyu was being chased and calling for help, he was surprised to see that someone was bold enough to rob this girl. Shoot, Li Hu! Hu Kuan's face slightly changed. He simply abandoned the remaining points and hurried to leave. Xiaoyu felt so wrong that her tears were about to fall. What kind of people are they? Was Li Hu so scary? Han Fei was basking in the sun. 6 of the 8 cabins were already full. He felt that there were too few cabins on the fishing boat, and it would soon be full. But he was not in a hurry at all. When his boats were full, he could simply rob other people's boats. Han Fei sighed. What a loss. There are so many fish, but I can't absorb them all. No, I must apply to take them back for barbecue. Well, they're all blade fish, and they taste good. Swoosh, Han Fei shouted. Hey, bro, don't run. Let's form an alliance. This was the 3rd boat that slipped past Han Fei. He was lost for words. Did these people's spiritual energy cost nothing? They were not robbing him, but they were running so fast. Suddenly, he saw 2 boats coming at him quickly. Han Fei was immediately refreshed. Guests were coming. Did he have to pretend that he was running too? Han Fei immediately pretended to be injured and sped up the boat, pretending that he was also running away. They were getting closer and closer. Hey, isn't that Xiaoyu? Oh, this girl is robbing me too? Xiaoyu was hundreds of meters away from Han Fei when Xiaoyu raised her hand and shouted, Run, Han Fei, run now. Han Fei. Xiaoyu was lost for words. Other people were running, but Han Fei ran into her. What should she do? Although Han Fei was strong, he was Li Hu. Chapter 51. His confidence came from his strength. Han Fei was not panicked at all. He was amused to see Li Hu, who was chasing after him. Han Fei said, Xiaoyu, stop. Don't panic. Let's work together and kill him. Xiaoyu was almost in tears. Who are you going to kill? Xiaoyu said, We can't beat him. He has a tiger head fish as a contractual spiritual pet. We can't defeat him. Han Fei asked, Huh? What spiritual pet? Li Hu was surprised too, not because he ran into Han Fei, but because he heard Han Fei's name. He seemed to be in trouble. Was this really Han Fei? Xiaoyu controlled the boat, ready to escape at any moment. However, Han Fei stood at the head of the boat and shouted at Li Hu arrogantly, Thief, give your boat to me now, or I won't go easy on you. Li Hu said gloomily, Han Fei, there is no grudge between us. Since you're protecting her, I'll let her go. Han Fei said, Bullsh Aster's tea, it's none of your business. You are now the fish on the chopping block, and I am the butcher. Give me your points, or I'll show you why corals are so red. Xiaoyu was stunned. Since when was Han Fei so domineering? More importantly, Li Hu seemed to be scared of him. Li Hu said, Han Fei, don't push your luck. Tango won't stay in the heavenly water village forever. He can't protect you forever. Han Fei said, It's none of your business. You can protect me now. Hurry up. I'll give you one last chance. If you don't want the tigers to be destroyed, you'd better give your points to me obediently. Xiaoyu finally realized that Han Fei was domineering with Tang Ji's help, but she was no longer scared. That's right. Do you dare to touch Han Fei? Li Hu looked awful. He couldn't afford to piss off Tango, nor could he afford to piss off Han Fei for now. But he secretly gestured at the sea and took a deep breath. Han Fei, how about I give you half of my points? Han Fei said, What do you mean by that? Those are my points. Do you know what to say? They are all mine, not 1 point less. Holding back his anger, Li Hu said solemnly, There are a lot of fish. Do you want to move them with me? Han Fei was so angry that he laughed. Didn't I tell you? Was your head hit by an iron-head fish when you were a kid? I robbed you, and you want to be a coolie? Throw the fish into my cabin yourself. I'm not in a hurry. I have plenty of time. Xiaoyu jumped on a Han Fei's boat and whispered to Han Fei, be careful. He just killed quite a few people. Han Fei's face changed slightly. Even now, he didn't want to kill anyone. After all, they were all children. He couldn't bear to see them die in the sea at such a young age. He did not expect Li Hu to actually kill someone. Li Hu thought to himself, so what? There's no one here, and Tang Gu is not here. If I kill him and he Xiaoyu here, who will know that I did it? Holding back his fury, Li Hu continued to transfer points to Han Fei's fish cabin. Han Fei urged from time to time, why are you so slow? Didn't you eat? Li Hu thought to himself, if I wait a little longer, you won't have to leave. Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei, lost for words. The guy used to be taciturn, but he had changed after he fell into the sea last time. Xiaoyu asked, Han Fei, how many points do you have now? Han Fei thought for a moment and said, I don't know. I'm waiting for the inspectors to calculate it for me. At this moment, Li Hu suddenly said, Han Fei, your fish cabins are all full. Han Fei answered without hesitation, oh, it's full. Xiaoyu, do you have an empty cabin? Xiaoyu's mouth was wide open. Didn't the fish cabins only happen to the top 10? Yes, I have 4 empty cabins. Han Fei asked, if I put them in yours, they will count as my points, right? Xiaoyu said, probably. Then Han Fei pointed at Li Hu and said, then you move them to her cabin. Don't slack off. Hurry up. I'm going to rob them. Li Hu stuffed fish into Xiaoyu's cabin without saying anything, but he was secretly shocked that the guy's cabin was all full of blade fish when he opened one of the cabins. How did he do it? Xiaoyu asked timidly. How many points did you get in the last hour? Han Fei thought for a moment and said, I don't remember. I think I got more than 1,000 points. Xiaoyu, Li Hu, at this moment, the village leader's voice echoed in the sky. There are 2 hours to go before the end of the fishing trial. Keep it up, everybody. Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. Why didn't the village leader report the points? Xiaoyu rolled her eyes. There's no need to report the points after the 1,000th place is reported. The points in the last 4 hours are chaotic, so it's not easy to calculate. Didn't you see that the inspectors are gone? They're not allowed to show up at this moment. They're all at the periphery. Han Fei blinked and said, seriously? Isn't that an inspector? Han Fei pointed at a boat that was sailing close not far away. There was an inspector on it. It was easy to tell that the inspectors were all old, and this man seemed to be in his 30s. Who else could it be if not an inspector? Suddenly, Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Wait, we're surrounded. Han Fei saw black spots in the distance, and then looked around, only to see at least dozens of fishing boats approaching from all directions. Ha ha ha. Han Fei, it's time for you to die. Even if he's Tang Ji's brother. So what? Since he's not here, why should I kill you? Shocked, Xiaoyu said in a hurry. Let's run. Run? Han Fei's lazy expression suddenly disappeared, and he showed a trace of fierceness. On the sea, they were all on the same fishing boat. Where could they run to? Kill the leader first. I'll kill you first. Han Fei suddenly attacked with a purple bamboo rod in his hand. Spiritual energy gushed out from the purple bamboo rod and went straight to Li Hu's face. Li Hu sneered. Do you think you're Tanga? I'm not even scared of Tanga. Li Hu's rod surged with spiritual energy too, and he smashed at Han Fei brutally. Stop! The inspector's voice came 1,000 meters away, which confirmed that something was wrong with the inspector because the inspector couldn't do anything about it. Han Fei's eyes were cold, and he did not hold back at all. His spiritual energy storage of 279 points was not a joke. The higher the upper limit, the stronger his body would be. Clang BM! To Xiaoyu's surprise, Li Hu was blown away by the attack and crashed into the cabin. Pooh! Li Hu vomited blood crazily, and his arms seemed to be broken. Li Hu was shocked. How is it possible? How can he be so strong? How can I, a level 8 fisher, be no match for him? Before Li Hu realized what was going on, Han Fei had jumped. Li Hu was appalled. If he had been hit, he would have been heavily wounded if not killed. Tiger head, attach. Han Fei turned around, and an ugly 3-meter-long fish darted into Li Hu's body as fast as lightning. What the hell? However, Li Hu's body suddenly swelled up. His face was ferocious, and the spiritual energy on the surface of his body became denser. The shadow of a big fish appeared. Xiaoyu said, "Be careful. He's merged with his pet. His combat ability will be much higher." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "Then I'll smash him a few more times. I told you to stop." The inspector was coming at him in a hurry, but Han Fei ignored him and smashed his rod again. This time, the tip of the purple bamboo rod glittered. Han Fei had used spiritual energy explosion. Li Hu was so furious that he had to deal with the power of spiritual energy explosion carefully, even though he had become stronger. He gathered all his spiritual energy and launched spiritual energy explosion too. Explode. BM. 2 cabins on Li Hu's boat were blown up by the blast of spiritual energy explosion. Li Hu, on the other hand, was bleeding from his eyes, nose, mouth, and mouth. He could barely hold the rod anymore. He felt that his hands were broken. Han Fei, on the other hand, jumped back and launched another spiritual energy explosion from the purple bamboo rod. Li Hu was greatly shocked. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Han Fei was not an idiot. If he did not take down Li Hu now, it would be too late later. But when the purple bamboo rod was about to hit Li Hu, a big fish seemed to leap out of Li Hu's body. Bam! Bam! Chapter 52. He's not dead. Han Fei was shocked. He knew very well how powerful his attack was. It was more than 1,000 kilograms. He was confident that even a level 9 fisher wouldn't dare to resist it if he exerted his full strength. However, the fish was still alive after being hit by it. "Little bastard, I told you to stop." Han Fei failed to kill Li Hu in 3 attacks, and the inspector was already 30 meters away. Han Fei's eyes were cold. He decided to kill the inspector. When the inspector's boat was closer, he jumped to it in a hurry. But the moment the inspector jumped to the sky, Han Fei jumped back and activated spiritual energy explosion on the purple bamboo rod again. Audacious! How dare you? Of course, there were strong and weak inspectors. Apart from the 4 major schools, even the inspectors and law enforcers were mostly level 9 fishers or peak-level fishers. In Han Fei's eyes, this inspector couldn't be a fishing master. If he was, he could have attacked from 100 meters away, but he didn't, which meant that he was at most a peak-level fisher. So, Han Fei decided to try his best. Explode? You're out of your mind. Air billowed in midair, and Xiaoyu was blown back a couple of steps by the airwaves. Plop! After an explosion, both of them fell into the sea. Han Fei. Xiaoyu's face was pale, and her head went blank. It was not a joke for a fisher to fall into the sea. There were no fishing masters here, and they were almost dead. The person who was the most shocked was the patrol inspector. He was completely dumbfounded. Does this young man want to perish together with me? Why did he use spiritual energy explosion 4 times? But there was no time for him to think. The moment he fell into the sea, he hurried to cover himself with a spiritual energy protective cover. Hardly had he stabilized himself when a green light smashed at him. Gadu, the inspector was appalled. He was smashed dozens of meters into the water, and his chest was punched out by Han Fei. He was shocked. Who was this young man exactly? Why was he so strong? But it was not the time to think about that. The inspector hurried to float up. He saw blade fish swimming by and snake belt far away. However, Han Fei was right above him. At this moment, he grinned, revealing his white teeth. This was the first time Han Fei had used the wandering dragon art. Although he was not familiar with it, it was completely different from before. In the water, he was like a fish, rolling and moving easily. Not good. Seeing that Han Fei was swimming over, the inspector hurriedly waved his rod, and the rod cut through the seawater. Unfortunately, his movements were too slow, and he only saw a cold light flash past his wrist. The rod slipped out of the inspector's hand, and blood gushed out of his wrist. Han Fei glanced at the approaching snake belt and gave up the chase. He waved at the inspector. On the surface of the sea, Xiaoyu was still staring at the surface of the sea, and not far away, Dozens of boats were coming as fast as they could. Ha! Ha! Cough, cough. You can't escape. Shut up. Do you believe that I will throw you into the sea right now? Li Hu said, No, you can't kill me. Even if I'm heavily injured, you can't kill me. Falling into the sea, he won't be able to survive. Ha ha ha. Bang! Hardly had Li Hu finished his sentence when Han Fei broke out of the water and landed on the deck. Li Hu asked, How? How is it possible? How are you still alive? He Xiaoyu cried in joy. Han Fei, are you all right? You scared me. I thought you were dead. Woo woo. Holding the purple bamboo rod, Han Fei looked at the surface of the sea and said calmly. The inspector happened to run into the snake belt after he fell into the water. TSK, TSK. I saw the snake belt crawl into his mouth with my own eyes. TSK, tisk. Imagining the picture, He Xiaoyu was so disgusted that she almost threw up. Li Hu's face changed greatly. He pointed at Han Fei, trembling. You dare to kill the inspector? Han Fei said. Which eye of yours saw me kill the inspector? After staring for a while, Han Fei saw that nothing was happening on the surface of the sea. It seemed that the inspector couldn't come up anymore. So he walked to Li Hu in relief and said, Tisk, TSK. If it weren't for points, I would have killed you right now. Then, Han Fei raised his rod and smashed it, and the tiger head fish that were still alive charged at Han Fei. Explode. Han Fei seemed to have seen it coming. He performed spiritual energy explosion again and smashed the tiger head fish to the deck again. Bam! 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 Han Fei raised the purple bamboo rod and smashed it with such force that even the deck was smashed. Finally, the big fish was beaten half to death. Li Hu shuddered at the scene. That was a tiger head fish. It was a rare species in the general fishery and the level 1 fishery, but it had been deformed by Han Fei and was dying. Tiger head. Han Fei was about to smash it again, when the tiger head fish turned into a streak of light and landed on Li Hu's wrist, condensing into the shape of a fish. Han Fei looked at He Xiaoyu in surprise. Is the fish so tough? It's still alive? He Xiaoyu said, That's the power of the contract. The tiger head fish was dying, but Li Hu recalled it into his body. However, when the contract beast is wounded, the contract partner will be wounded too. Han Fei looked at Li Hu, only to discover that the guy was vomiting blood nonstop. Han Fei was rather lost for words. How could such a big fish be stored in his body? Wouldn't it be the same as his calabash? No wonder Li Ju, the leader of the tigers, could dominate the level 1 fishery. It would be hard for anyone to die with such a fish. Thief, let go of my young master. How dare you attack the young master of the tigers? Do you want to die? You've been surrounded. Let go of my young master if you don't want to die. Looking at the dozens of boats that surrounded him, Han Fei picked up the crippled Li Hu and said to them, Give me your points, or I'll cripple him. How do you give me the points of the black tigers? One of Li Hu's hands was broken, and he screamed miserably. Han Fei asked, Did I not make myself clear, or do you have bad ears? Li Hu said, What are you waiting for? Give it to him. Han Fei said, Fill that boat too. Pointing at He Xiaoyu's boat, Han Fei turned around and said to He Xiaoyu, We're classmates after all. I'll cover for you. He Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. Wasn't Han Fei too ferocious? But Han Fei was truly awesome. Li Hu, a level 8 fisher who owned a tiger head fish, was crippled. The fake inspector died miserably, and he robbed a dozen boats at once. Was he still the Han Fei she knew? Han Fei left 2 boats, which were packed to the brim. After the cabins of the dozen boats were completely emptied, Han Fei patted Li Hu's face lazily and said, I'm out of the game. Li Hu's face slightly changed. There's only half an hour left. You're asking me to quit the game? Are you trying to stop me from participating in the talent awakening? Kacha! Han Fei broke Li Hu's leg with a rod and grinned. Do you need me to repeat myself? Li Hu's eyes were filled with fear. He realized that Han Fei was not as ruthless as the rumors said. He was a ruthless person, a very ruthless person. If he refused, he might really be fed to the fish in the sea. Li Hu gnashed his teeth. I'm out. When the real inspector came, he was shocked to see how miserable Li Hu was. Was he still the brutal and domineering young master of the tigers? Before he left, Li Hu glared at Han Fei. Han Fei said, "What are you looking at? I'll gouge out your eyes if you keep looking. Tell your father that you wasted 10 of my spirit refilling pills. Let him deal with it." Li Hu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and blood flowed out of his mouth. But he had to hold back his fury. If Han Fei asked Tengu to deal with the tigers, he would be doomed. After Li Hu was dragged away, He Xiaoyu finally asked, "Why? Why didn't you?" Han Fei said lazily, "As long as he's alive, his father won't hesitate to do anything." On the other side, Tengu and Wang Baiyu ran into each other. Tengu said, "Give me your points, and I won't kill you." Wang Baiyu sweated hard. "How did I run into this guy in a fishery with a range of 100 kilometers? Wang Baiyu said in a hurry, "Tengu, Han Fei and I are good friends, right? He owes me a favor." Tengu frowned. "Speak." "If I learn that you lied to me," Wang Baiyu said, "last time Han Fei was set up and drifted on the sea for 5 days and 5 nights. I met him and saved him." "Say that again." Infuriated, Tengu pointed the golden rod at Wang Baiyu. Wang Baiyu said, "Everybody in the port knows about it. I don't know who did it, but the port has been investigating it. I think Han Fei knows what he's doing." Tengu put down the rod. "So to speak, Han Fei does owe you a favor. But if I let you go, the favor will be gone." Chapter 53. Speaking of which, in the last hour, everyone went crazy. Those who had enough points wanted to get more points so that they could get a better rank in the spiritual awakening. Those who had average points hoped to make it to the top 100, and those who didn't have enough points were those who had been robbed. They were unwilling to give up and wanted to take it back. However, there was only half an hour left in the fishing trial. Who dared to stay on the field? Those who had been robbed couldn't get any benefits at all. More importantly, the alliances at the beginning of the trial were collapsing. Originally, these people's fishing boats were all tied together. Some people were stabbed by their allies next to them accidentally. Some people robbed them openly, and some people suddenly unleashed their hidden strength, killing other members of the alliance and pocketing all the points. Therefore, more and more people quit the trial, especially those who still had a lot of points after their alliances collapsed. Many of them simply chose to end the trial. Of course, there was also another situation, which was that the alliances were getting larger and larger, led by one of them. Some even gathered a dozen boats. Usually, such people were heavenly talents who promised all kinds of benefits to other people. Among them, the most typical one was Xiao Wushuang from the West Campus, who had a level 4, low-quality spiritual heritage. He was undoubtedly a heavenly talent who was bound to soar. Therefore, many people want to suck up to him and help him fight for points. On Han Fei's side, the two of them occupied 4 boats that were full of points. Anybody's eyes would be green with envy. If the people from the East Campus saw Han Fei and He Xiaoyu, they would have run away immediately. However, Xiao Wushuang was not from the East Campus. He was from the West and didn't know Han Fei at all. Although Xiao Wushuang knew that Han Fei and He Xiaoyu might be strong, they couldn't be more than level 8. He was level 8 himself, and he had a dozen lackeys with him. Wouldn't the two of them fight for the points? He Xiaoyu had been fine ever since she hung out with Han Fei. She felt that it wouldn't be a problem for her to make it to the top 100. She was eating sea melon seeds at this moment. Suddenly, He Xiaoyu shouted, "A fleet is coming." Han Fei said, "I saw it. It's a huge package." He Xiaoyu. Han Fei smiled and handed over a spirit refilling pill. "You take care of the small fries. I'll take care of the strongest ones." He Xiaoyu jumped to her feet. "There are a dozen minions, but only one of them is the strongest." He Xiaoyu, "You are a level 7 fisher after all. Can't you bear some pressure?" He Xiaoyu pouted. "Even a dozen level 5 fishers can exhaust a level 7 fisher to death. All right? What's more, I've just entered the 7th level, and I don't have your innate divine strength. How am I supposed to fight you?" Han Fei was lost for words. "Forget it. Half each. Is that okay?" He Xiaoyu said, "The strongest one is yours." He Xiaoyu, "Let me tell you, you can't become an expert like this." He Xiaoyu said, "I don't need to be an expert. I just want to be a great fishing master. My father wants me to be a great fishing master because I'm destined not to be one. After that, I'll be free." Han Fei sweated. "He Xiaoyu, Your idea is very dangerous. Xiaoyu said, I don't care. You're stronger than me anyway. You can even kill inspectors. You're at least as strong as a level 9 fisher. Then, Xiaoyu looked up at the sky. Han Fei was only a level 2 fisher a month ago. It had only been a few days, but he was already strong enough to fight level 9 fishers. If Tengu was a monster, was Han Fei a monster too? Han Fei suggested, how about we defeat them one by one? Xiaoyu asked, how can we defeat them one by one? They'll definitely attack together. Why don't we end the trial? I think you're good enough to be in the top 10. Han Fei said angrily, if I'm in the top 10, why can't I be in the top 3? There's no reward except for the top 3. Xiaoyu said, actually there is. According to the rules, the top 10 can choose a battle technique. Han Fei said in disdain, what good battle technique can there be in our village? I'd better be in the top 3. Xiaoyu almost wanted to smack the guy into the ocean. She was so nervous, but the guy was still bragging. Xiao Wushuang stood at the bow of the boat with his hands behind his back, looking at them casually. When the boat approached, Xiao Wushuang looked at Han Fei curiously and asked, I'm curious. Why didn't you run? Han Fei said, we didn't have enough hands to sail the boat, or we would have run away. Xiao Wushuang asked, have you been robbed? Han Fei suddenly said angrily, can't you be more respectful? Xiao Wushuang. Han Fei said, let go of your hand. How can you keep your hand behind your back when you're talking to him? Xiao Wushuang. Xiaoyu was almost crying. He's already in front of you. Just fight him. What are you talking about? Xiao Wushuang said, hand over your points, and I'll spare your life. Han Fei asked, are you in the top 3 in terms of points now? Xiao Wushuang. Xiao Wushuang was lost for words. Why did he feel that he couldn't communicate with this guy? Can we talk nicely? Xiao Wushuang said patiently, not yet. Han Fei's eyes immediately glittered. Then give me your points. I'm not bad. Xiao Wushuang. Xiao Wushuang said gloomily, it seems that you don't want to give them to me. Han Fei said, I'll give them to you. Xiao Wushuang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It would be best if they didn't have to fight. He didn't want to fight with the person in front of him because he saw the traces of a fierce battle on this ship, and the intensity of the battle was very high, which meant that this person's strength was definitely not low. However, in the next second, Han Fei said, I'll give you a hammer. Before Xiao Wushuang realized what was going on, Han Fei had jumped up, and the purple bamboo rod flashed with spiritual energy. Explode! Xiao Wushuang's face changed greatly. Spiritual energy explosion could only be used by fishers above level 7. More importantly, why did he feel that the spiritual energy was even denser than when he used it? Xiao Wushuang hurriedly tried to block it with his rod, but he forgot that he didn't hold the rod in his hand just now. Immediately, Xiao Wushuang stomped hard and tried to bounce back. Behind Xiao Wushuang, the 4 level 6 fishers realized what was going on and hurriedly fought back with their rods. With a BM, all 4 of them collapsed to the ground, and one of them even passed out, his body still twitching. Everybody on Xiao Wushuang's side was stunned. They had no idea which expert they had pissed off. Instead of waiting for them to counterattack, Han Fei landed on Xiao Wushuang's boat and stomped hard at Xiao Wushuang. At this moment, Xiao Wushuang was greatly shocked. His hand had just touched his rod, but he was still in midair. The only thing he could do was to block it with his rod. Clang! Xiao Wushuang's body smashed the cover of the boat and fell into the fish cabin, leaving a mouthful of blood in midair. Han Fei stood calmly next to the fish cabin and said, I told you not to pretend to be cool. You should be polite and treat others equally. Who gave you the courage to put your hands behind your back when you're facing an enemy? With a roar in the cabin, a flash of spiritual energy flashed, and Xiao Wushuang ejected at Han Fei. BM! Xiao Wushuang was smashed into the fish cabin again. Han Fei said, stop shouting. You used spiritual energy explosion before you stabilized your body. Is this what your teacher taught you? Not far away, the other young men who were about to surround him all stopped, and some tried to sneak back to their boats. Han Fei raised his rod and pointed it at the guy. If you dare to run one more step, I'll break your legs and throw you into the ocean. The young man put on a gloomy face and dared not run anymore, but he was terrified. It was Xiao Wushuang. A level 4, low-quality fisher with a level 8 spiritual heritage was knocked down by 2 strikes. Who was this guy? Not caring what they were thinking, Han Fei shouted to He Xiaoyu. He Xiaoyu, collect your points. He Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. She had been ready for a fierce battle. But how long had it been? The battle was over before I even had a chance to jump on their boat? Who are you? Xiao Wushuang grabbed the fish cabin with both hands and looked at Han Fei with his mouth full of blood. Han Fei said solemnly, I'm the person you can't beat. Xiao Wushuang. Chapter 54. Xiao Wushuang's trial ended early for no other reason than that he had lost all his combat ability and that his subordinates, who were at the peak of level 6, had been knocked down. The remaining level 5 fishers would be lucky if they didn't get robbed themselves. At this moment, Han Fei said to He Xiaoyu in distress on the deck, We can't drive away with so many boats. He Xiaoyu said, With so many boats here, nobody will dare to rob you. They've all been scared away. Han Fei asked, He Xiaoyu, do you think we're the first place now? He Xiaoyu said, Yes, you're the first place. I think you're below the 100th place. Speaking of that, He Xiaoyu was rather angry. The battle had ended before she could do anything, so she was too embarrassed to ask Han Fei to give her a boat or 2. Han Fei said, That won't do. I think I have too many points. I'll give you 1, 2 boats. Then you'll be in the top 100. He Xiaoyu's eyes glittered. Did you say that? Immediately, He Xiaoyu was about to pick up a boat with a smile, exclaiming now and then. Han Fei said, Green turtles, yellow fish. Take whatever you want. Don't take too many blade fish. He Xiaoyu. It was almost dusk, and an enormous sun seemed to be hanging on the surface of the sea. 1 step forward, and he would be able to walk into it. Sitting on the deck and watching the sun, Han Fei mumbled, There's no wine. There's no smoke. What is smoke? He Xiaoyu had already picked a boat. She felt that she would definitely be in the top 100. As for the top 3, she wouldn't pursue it, nor was she capable of it. Han Fei asked, Have you found that this world is very beautiful? He Xiaoyu asked, Isn't it? My father said that the bottom of the sea is beautiful and that there are thousands of colors. I really want to see it. Han Fei rolled his eyes at her. You good for nothing. Have you never appreciated such a big sun? What's so beautiful about the sun? Han Fei said with a smile. Have you never wondered why there is such a big sun? Don't you find it amazing? What is it that attracts such a huge sun? What is it that prevents the sun from crashing into us? He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei as if he were an idiot. Of course it's the sea god. Lord Sea God grabbed the brightest star in the darkness, and that was how the sun came to be. Han Fei, why doesn't he go to heaven? He Xiaoyu said, Don't speak ill of the sea god. The sea god created the ocean, brought us light, and created all the beauty in the world. He Xiaoyu, have you ever seen a rainbow? He Xiaoyu. Han Fei immediately grabbed the kettle and said to He Xiaoyu, Look at the sky. Han Fei grabbed the kettle and took a big gulp. Then he sprayed water into the sky. Puff, puff, puff. He Xiaoyu stared blankly at Han Fei, who was spraying water. She pitied him. He seemed to have lost his mind. Am I going to become the Han Fei from a month ago again? Suddenly, He Xiaoyu looked at the mist in shock and rubbed her eyes hard, her mouth wide open. The Han Fei said, Shut up. What are you yelling for? He Xiaoyu pulled Han Fei and pointed at the sky. Colorful divine light, it can lead to the sea god's domain. Han Fei said, Shut up. You're so uneducated. Han Fei waved his hand in the air until the rainbow was gone, before he said, It's called a rainbow. It's caused by the dispersion and reflection of the water droplets in the sky when sunlight hits them. Forget it. You won't understand it anyway. It's called a rainbow. He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei, her eyes glittering. No, it's colorful divine light. Han Fei, you can create colorful divine light? Tell me honestly, did you see the sea god at the bottom of the ocean a month ago? Han Fei said, Damn you. He Xiaoyu wanted to argue, but Han Fei suddenly interrupted her. Look, a boat is coming. The fishing trial was almost over. When the passing boats saw Han Fei's boat, they all wanted to run away with their boats, but at this moment, a few boats came straight at them. Both Han Fei and He Xiaoyu were curious as to who was so courageous as to walk into the trap. Han Fei said, "Get ready. Let's loot them." He Xiaoyu nodded. Okay. When the fishing boat approached, Han Fei saw Tangu, and Tangu saw Han Fei too. He Xiaoyu jumped to her feet and waved her hands. "Tangu, over here." When Tangu approached, he was dumbfounded to see the fishing boats. Han Fei, what? What's going on? Han Fei said, "Oh, I looted them." Tangu. Tangu raised his head in disbelief. "You looted them? I've only been away for 20 days, and you're telling me that you're capable of looting so many boats in the fishing trial?" He Xiaoyu snorted. "It's all because of the treasures you left." Tangu, how many good things did you leave for him? It's only been a month, and he's already able to kill an inspector. Did I leave a lot of things? No, what? An inspector? Who killed an inspector? Han Fei almost wanted to stuff He Xiaoyu's big mouth into the fish cabin. Damn it. You've just met, and you've exposed everything. Han Fei put his arm around Tang Ji's neck and pulled him aside. Don't be surprised. I had other opportunities besides the things you left. When you weren't around, I was ambushed and stayed on the sea for 5 days and 5 nights. After that, I met a white-bearded old man who insisted on imparting a cultivation technique to me. I didn't want it, but he insisted. This is really... Han Fei's words contained too much information, but Tangu simply skipped the so-called opportunities and asked angrily, "Who tried to ambush you?" Han Fei chuckled and said, "It's not a big deal for me. Don't forget that I told others that you left me a lot of treasures, which is why I was able to advance so quickly." Tanga nodded and said, "Okay, don't stand out too much. But killing an inspector is a big deal. Why did you?" Han Fei said, "He must have been a traitor that the tigers planted among the inspectors. His level was not high, and I dragged him into the sea when he was unprepared. Then, he was trapped by the snake belt. So, I wasn't the one who killed him." Tangu was shocked. "You fell into the sea? Were you hurt?" Han Fei said, "I'm fine." Tangu said gloomily, "The tigers are truly bold. Don't worry. I'll teach them a lesson when we return." Han Fei said unconcernedly, "Forget it. I'll take care of it myself. Right? Are you home tonight? If you are, I'll teach you the combat technique." In the clouds, Fong Zhe shook his head. What white-bearded old man? What combat technique? What could he possibly meet in a small place like the Heavenly Water Village? However, the young man must have had a fortuitous encounter to advance from a level 2 fisher to a level 7 fisher. But that was not a big deal. What was even more unbelievable was that someone once became a hidden fisher from fishermen in the city. It was an indescribable sight. Han Fei said casually, "Let me tell you, this combat technique is called the Incomplete Monograph on 108 Ways of Body Polishing." What did you say? Fong Zhe's sudden appearance gave all 3 of them a fright. He Xiaoyu was stunned and panicked. "Gee, Master Angel." Han Fei was much better than He Xiaoyu, but he pretended to be surprised and said respectfully, "It's an honor to meet you, Master Angel." Fong Zhe nodded and asked solemnly, "What's the name of the technique you mentioned just now?" Han Fei said, "The Incomplete Monograph on 108 Ways of Body Polishing." Fong Zhe said, "Tell me more about what happened to the old man that night." Han Fei made up a story. "I was cultivating that night and felt that I was about to make a breakthrough, but I felt that I was not there yet. Then a white-bearded old man suddenly appeared in front of me and said that my body was too weak. So he pressed his hand on my forehead, and I learned it." Fong Zhe said, "Divine Enlightenment Technique, top-notch body tempering technique. You actually encountered a venerable rel powerhouse. Kid, your luck is truly 1 in a million." Han Fei asked in a daze, "How strong is a venerable expert? Is he as strong as Master Angel?" Fong Zhe chuckled. "You'd better not know about it at your level. All you need to know is that venerables are the top experts in the infinite ocean." "Right. Did you say the incomplete monograph? This technique is incomplete?" Han Fei said, "There are only 108 postures. It's extremely difficult to cultivate, but it's very effective." Fong Zhe said, Of course. Tengu, let's stay in the heavenly water village for a few more days. You must learn the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing. Tengu hesitated. Well, the Venerable taught Han Fei the technique. Would it be inappropriate for me to learn it rashly? Feng Zhe said, that's fine. The Venerable only taught him the most basic way to train his body. It's obvious that he gave it to him casually. If he learns all the techniques, we can't take them even if he gives them to us. Then, Feng Zhe looked at Han Fei up and down. Why would the Venerable give pointers to an ordinary fisherman? Could it be that there was some kind of unseen potential in this kid? Chapter 55. He Xiaoyu listened, as if she were listening to a story, as if she had heard a shocking secret. Feng Zhe did not intend to come down, but now that he was here, it was not appropriate for him to not give the juniors a gift. He took out 2 crimson sea fruits casually and said, fine, it's fate that we've met. Consider these 2 cups of low-level spiritual fruits as a minor opportunity. He Xiaoyu accepted them in a daze. They were crimson sea fruits that only the village leader could enjoy, and the angel had given them to her casually. Han Fei, on the other hand, was stunned. Han Fei was stunned for a moment. He lowered his head, rolled his eyes, took a deep breath, and said, Master Angel, I wonder if I have a presumptuous request. Han Fei did not take the crimson sea fruits, which surprised Feng Zhe. Could a regular villager resist the temptation of the crimson sea fruits? Even though it was a spiritual fruit of the lowest level, it was not something that they could resist. Even Tengu was too shocked to say anything when he saw the crimson sea fruits for the first time. Feng Zhe said, oh, then what do you want? Although you and Tengu are brothers, I won't take the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing for nothing. Han Fei said, Lord Angel, can you give me a boat? Regular boats are not sturdy and can't be used in battles. I'm afraid that I'll have to stay here for a long time. So a good boat is much more useful than a spiritual fruit. Feng Zhe smiled and said, it's indeed interesting. You're quite smart. Do you know that a good boat is much more important than a spiritual fruit? Huh? Han Fei pretended to be surprised. Feng Zhe raised his hand and said, fine, I'll give you a boat. Feng Zhe waved his hand, and a white boat appeared on the surface of the sea. It was much more streamlined and beautiful than the boats that they were on. What Han Fei paid most attention to was not the boat, but the way it appeared. Was this the so-called mustard seed universe? He wondered if it was the same as Forge the Universe. Feng Zhe said, okay, your trial is about to end. Go. After that, Feng Zhe disappeared in the blink of an eye. Soon after Feng Zhe left, the village leader's voice echoed in the sky. I hereby announce that the fishing trial is over. Everybody stay where you are and do not move. I will be inspecting from the sky. If there are any abnormal movements, the results will be invalidated. All the patrollers were mobilized. Parents started to enter, but only a few of them could enter to see the results. About half an hour later, an inspector came. Han Fei recognized the inspector. Isn't he Mr. Zhou Ding from the southern campus? Last time, he was dragged out of the southern campus by this teacher. Zhou Ding was stunned when he saw the dozens of fishing boats. Which school's heavenly talent are they from? But when he saw Han Fei and He Xiaoyu, he exclaimed, it's you too. Nice to meet you, Miss Zhou. He Xiaoyu said, nice to meet you, Miss Zhou. Tengu said, nice to meet you, Miss Zhou. Zhou Ding asked, you are Tengu? Seeing Tengu here, he was not surprised that there were so many fishing boats here. This was the angel's disciple. As long as he wanted to, he could rob everyone here. Would anyone dare to stop him? Of the 10,000 fishing boats that participated in the competition, less than 3,000 were left. At this moment, 3,000 fishing boats were gathered. All the boats were loaded with fish. All the staff of the port had been summoned to count them. Now and then, someone's score was reported. Zhou Chang, total score, 481 points. Ding Diu, total score, 389 points. Su Erling, total score, 501 points. Whenever someone had more than 500 points, everybody would cheer, because they thought that it wouldn't be a problem for them to make it to the top 1,000. Suddenly, a staff member exclaimed, Wang Baiyu, total score, 4,982 points. Wow, the whole audience was in an uproar. Many fishing masters were shocked. The third son of the Wong family almost got 5,000 points. What a genius! A parent exclaimed. Is there even a need to look? She's definitely in second place. A parent said enviously, I'm told that the top 3 will be rewarded with spirit concentration art. It must be a very powerful battle technique. A parent mocked. What do you know? Is spirit concentration art a battle technique? It's a great profession. People in the town call the fishing masters who learn spirit concentration art spirit gatherers. Some parents even said with mixed feelings, Wang Baiyu is the best. Han Fei, Tang Gu, and He Xiaoyu were waiting for their scores to be counted. Tang Gu was the first to line up. When the staff saw the row of fishing boats, they were all dumbfounded. Are they all Tang Ji's? Tang Gu pointed and said, this one, and that one. 5 boats in total. They're all mine. Who? Many people heaved a long sigh of relief. They were almost scared. They thought that these were all Tang Ji's. Soon, a staff member exclaimed again, Tang Gu, Tang Ji's total score, 5,882 points. The parents exclaimed again, as expected of the angel's disciple. He's easily surpassed the third son of the Wong family by almost 1,000 points. Someone shook his head. It's more than 1,000 points. How could Wang Baiyu get 5,000 points if his family didn't arrange someone else to help him? The parents would only talk about it, and the teachers would compare themselves with each other. Wang Jia, as Tang Ji's teacher, was glowing. That was his student. It seemed that the first place was in the bag. Nobody thought that the angel took action. Such a small scene was not worth it at all. If the angel took action, he could easily get 50,000 points. On the other side, He Xiaoyu was taken to be counted too. He Mingtang had been paying attention to this side. When he saw that He Xiaoyu came back with Tang Gu and Han Fei, he knew that the score couldn't be bad. He couldn't help but smile when he saw the 3 fishing boats behind He Xiaoyu. However, before He Xiaoyu was weighed, a staff member shouted, Hu Kuan, 1,299 points. Hu Kuan was thrilled. The past 6 hours had been a close shave for him. Even though he had reached level 7, he was almost killed several times. When he heard the score, he knew that he had a chance to be in the top 100. Unexpectedly, he saw He Xiaoyu the moment he finished counting. When he saw the 3 fishing boats behind He Xiaoyu, his face changed. Why didn't Li Hu catch her? A moment later, the staff member said in shock, He Xiaoyu, total score, 3,012 points. Ha ha! He Mingtang couldn't help but laugh. He was too excited to control himself. Next to him, a teacher complimented, Old He, you've got a good daughter. Mr. He, your son Xiaoyu has a chance to be a great fishing master. Mr. He, although my son's score is not high, he is handsome and behaves like a noble. Why don't you think about it? He Mingtang couldn't listen to those words at all. He thought to himself, your son looks like a big yellow fish when he grows up. How dare he say that he's handsome and wants my beloved daughter? At this moment, the parents all praised He Xiaoyu for her beauty when they saw her. Some people even secretly noted it down and planned to let their sons try to woo her. Hu Kuan was stunned. 3,012 points was a slap in the face. He was hoping that He Xiaoyu would be robbed by Li Hu. But how did she get 3,012 points? Could it be that He Xiaoyu was better than him? After He Xiaoyu finished, Hu Kuan saw Han Fei and immediately felt uncomfortable. He saw the dense fishing boats behind Han Fei. On the other side, Han Fei finally had someone count his score. The staff said, You're Han Fei, right? Which one is your fishing boat? Han Fei said, These are all mine. The staff stared at Han Fei. What? What did you say? These are all yours? Han Fei nodded. Yes, they're all mine. The staff circled the fishing boats in disbelief and asked again, Are they really all yours? Han Fei said, There's so many teachers here. Why would I lie to you? Han Fei had a total of 21 fishing boats. It was no wonder that the staff didn't believe him. No one would believe him. When they were counting, a staff opened the fish cabin of a certain fishing boat, only to be shocked. All the boats were blade fish, not a single green turtle. The staff was dumbfounded. Are you kidding me? Only Han Fei knew that there were 4 boats that mainly contained blade fish, but even so, it was still a lot. A moment later, when Han Fei's score came out, a staff exclaimed in shock. Everybody looked at the staff, only to see her stammering while holding her notebook. Han Fei, total score, 13,208 points. Chapter 56. Silence. Everybody was quiet. Originally, everyone was still chatting in full swing, but when the score came out, everyone's voices disappeared. The teachers and staff were all dumbfounded. The principal, the village leader, and Han Fei's teacher, Wang Jie, were all dumbfounded. Only Tengu was smiling, and Han Fei scratched his head. It seemed that the atmosphere was rather awkward. It's impossible. He cheated. At this moment, Hukun grew excited. He was truly shocked by the number. He couldn't have gotten such a number even if his score was 10 times higher. The only thing he could think of was that Han Fei cheated. Otherwise, how could he have gotten such a high score? Han Fei narrowed his eyes and looked at him. Young man, you have to be responsible for your words. At this moment, the village leader stood out too. Young man, you do have to be responsible for your words. Do you have any proof that Han Fei cheated? Of course, Hukun did not have any proof, but he suddenly thought of something and said, "It must be Tengu. Han Fei and Tengu are good friends. Tengu must have given his points to Han Fei. Otherwise, how could he have gotten so many points?" Humph. At this moment, Tengu stood out and said, "Hukun, don't be ridiculous. I didn't give Han Fei any points. He earned those points on his own." Hukun said excitedly, "Nonsense. He was a level 2 fisher a month ago. How could he have earned more than 10,000 points in the fishing trial in only 1 month? Do you believe it?" The village leader and the others all looked at Han Fei, wondering what was going on. He was still a level 2 fisher a month ago, but he didn't seem to be one anymore. He seemed to be at least a level 7 fisher. Han Fei, however, was not bothered. Hukun, everybody has their own opportunities. I've been through life and death situations multiple times. Shouldn't I deserve some opportunities? You, on the other hand, are too narrow-minded to be ranked in the top 10 with more than 1,000 points. Why are you mocking me? Tell me, are you jealous of me, envious of me, or do you hate me? At this moment, a parent shouted, "Young man, why don't you tell us how you got your points?" That's right. It's not a problem to tell us how you got them, is it? How many people did you rob to get so many points? For a moment, countless people opened their mouths. Some people really wanted to know, while others just wanted to watch the show. The village chief berated, "Quiet. All the parents shut up. The trial statistics haven't ended yet." Finally, the noise died down. The village leader looked at Han Fei awkwardly. "Student Han Fei, right? You can tell me, and I guarantee that no one will cause trouble for you." Han Fei asked, "Mr. Village Leader, does your promise count?" The village chief's face immediately turned red. "What do you mean by my promise? Can you remove the word will?" "Village chief? Of course it is. Just say it. No one will cause trouble for you. Here's what happened. I didn't want to fight for it, so I just wanted to be a quiet, handsome man. But a lot of people wanted to snatch me. Among them were Li Hu, Xiao Wushuang, and some students I didn't know. Well, so I snatched them." At this moment, Han Fei finally bared his fangs. It was just a village. What ordinary people regarded as heavenly talents was nothing in the eyes of the big shots. But if he was not even a heavenly talent in the village, how could he make a name for himself? So, he thought it was time to show his strength. "What? You snatched Li Hu's boat? Huh? I saw Xiao Wushuang come back injured. Did he snatch it? That's impossible. Li Hu is a level 8 fisher. Xiao Wushuang has a level 4, low-quality spiritual heritage. How could he beat him?" The crowd whispered to each other. Many people didn't believe it. Hukun was still scolding. Speaking of which, Li Hu and Xiao Wushuang are both level 8 fishers. How could you snatch their boats? Han Fei looked at him with pity in his eyes. Is that so strange? Because they can't beat me. Or should I ask them to say it themselves? It was a pity that neither Li Hu nor Xiao Wushuang could stand out at this moment. Li Ju, who was among the parents, was clenching his fists so hard that he almost couldn't hold back his anger. His son was almost crippled, but he couldn't be angry. He even had to thank Han Fei for not killing him. Not just that, He had to find a way to compensate Han Fei so that Han Fei would stop pursuing the inspector. Xiao Wushuang was even more proud. Apart from Tanggu, his spiritual heritage was the highest in the entire Heavenly Water Village, so he should be the strongest one apart from Tanggu. Unfortunately, in the end, he was defeated by a nobody. Was he going to go out and embarrass himself? Han Fei looked at the staff and asked, "Can my points be confirmed?" The staff looked at the village leader and nodded. Student Han Fei's total points are 13,208. If you don't accept it, you can come and investigate it, but don't interfere with the subsequent points calculation. However, Han Fei didn't intend to leave but asked the staff in a low voice, "Hello, can I take my fish away?" The staff was stunned for a moment. "We provide recycling services. Otherwise, it won't be easy to take the dozens of boats." Han Fei nodded. "Of course. I'll take them back myself." The points were calculated very quickly. It was done before the sun completely set. The village leader stood on the boat in midair with a list in his hand. The village leader announced, "I'll announce the result of this fishing trial. First place, Han Fei. Total points, 13,208. Second place, Tanggu. Total points, 5,882. Third place, Wang Baiyu. Total points, 4,982. Fourth place, Xiangnan. Total points, 4,356. Seventh place, He Xiaoyu. Total points, 3,012. 10th place, Chun Qing. Total points, 2,222. Once the top 10 were over, the points at the bottom began to drop drastically, from the 11th place's 1,800 points to the 100th place's 1,120 points. Hukuan was ranked 86th, which was not a bad result. However, it was still not good enough compared to the top 10. The final result was that the 1,000th had 496 points. Some were happy, and some were sad. The top 1,000 students were happy, but what the village leader said next shocked many people. The village leader said, "Dear students, I believe that you've realized the cruelty of the fishing trial. This is a microcosm of the real world. Such things happen every day in the Level 1 and Level 2 fisheries." Many students fell silent, and so did their parents. Many parents were silent since the beginning because they couldn't find their children. The village leader shouted, "Do you know the casualties in this fishing trial?" According to the statistics of the inspectors, there were 13,564 students in the fishing trial, but only 1,031 of them made it back. That's 3,243. Almost 25% of the students were buried in the sea forever. Everybody was shocked, including Han Fei himself. He knew that there were casualties, which could be seen from the fact that the boats he robbed were empty. Many people on those boats had been killed. He Xiaoyu also said that Li Hu had killed people, and those who were originally in alliance were the main source of the students who had died this time. The village leader was moved. Reality is cruel. There were 2,982 boats that participated in the fishing trial from beginning to end. According to the final statistics, 5,000 people were injured in the trial, and some were even permanently disabled. I'm telling you this not to frighten you, but to let you know that this is a man-eating ocean. If you don't want to be abandoned and perish, you must work hard. As long as you are alive, there will be hope for your life. Han Fei was silent after hearing the data. This was just a fishing trial in the village, and the casualty rate was already so high. What about the towns? What about the cities? He realized the cruelty of this world, or to be more exact, the cruelty of cultivation for the first time. One out of hundreds of ordinary people could become a fishing master, but could one out of hundreds of fishing masters become a great fishing master? How many great fishing masters would it take to become a dangling fisher like He Xiaoyu? How many people's bones would one have to step on to become a hidden fisher like Feng Zhe? Han Fei looked at the parents. None of them were smiling anymore. Some were crying, and some were comforting their children. Han Fei took a deep breath. This was a fight against fate, against fate, against fate, against fate. Chapter 57. When Han Fei returned to the floating island, the first thing he did was to ask Li Gang to make barbecue. In the evening, in the East Market, Thousands of people gathered around the barbecue stand. Li Gang was sweating all over. He shouted while barbecuing, "Don't worry. Everything will be half price for the next 3 days. You can come anytime." Li Gang was so busy that he didn't even have time to drink water, but he was overjoyed. This was life. When he was a gangster in the Tigers, he was hated by others every time he collected protection fees. But now, the barbecue he grilled was in short supply, and many people were scrambling to throw money into his hands. In the market, Li Gang and his wife were busy. On the cliff of Han Fei's house, Han Fei, Tengu, and He Xiaoyu were eating barbecue. The three of them had a headache thinking about what to do with the production of dozens of fishing boats. This was enough to hit the seafood market. Every year after the fishing trial, the price of fish in the floating island market would plummet, and it was the same now. He Xiaoyu's 3 fishing boats were taken away by He Mingtang, and Han Fei's 5 fishing boats were given to Han Fei. So Han Fei had 26 fishing boats. After sorting out the empty ones, there were only 15 full fishing boats left. Even if he gave Li Gang 3 full fishing boats, he still had 12 full fishing boats that had nowhere to put them. Tengu ate the garlic prawns in his hand. Delicious, so delicious. Let's barbecue all the fish. We can sell them for a lot of money. Han Fei said, "That's too much. The 3 of us have more than 10,000 caddies of fish. That must be hundreds of thousands of caddies, right?" He Xiaoyu said, "According to the current weather, the live fish can only last 1 day. Otherwise, they will die and stink." Tengu asked, "Then should we sell them?" Han Fei thought for a long time and said slowly, "We took them from the sea and returned them to the sea. Why don't we throw them back into the sea?" Throw them back. Tengu and He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei as if he were an idiot. It had only been 2 days since he started to suffer, and he was already so arrogant. Han Fei said, "Look at our barbecue stall. At this speed, we can only use 1 boat of fish tonight. I'm afraid we can only use 1 more boat tomorrow." Seeing the weird expressions on their faces, Han Fei immediately made up some nonsense. Enlightenment? Where's enlightenment? We humans are constantly absorbing resources from the sea. If there comes a day when we can't use up the resources anymore, instead of waiting for them to rot, we might as well throw them back into the sea. At least they have their remaining value. Are we still going to deprive them of their value? Tengu scratched his head. Then why did you drag these fish back? Why don't you just sell it to the port? Han Fei bit off a prawn and said, "The ocean is too lonely. I just want to take them for a ride in the sky." Tengu. He Xiaoyu. Then Han Fei jumped onto a fishing boat regardless of what the 2 of them thought. Yes, he had rented all the boats at the port and would return them when he was done with them. The boats were hanging near his home. He Xiaoyu pointed at Tengu and said in a low voice, "Have you noticed that, although he's making rapid progress, he's not very smart sometimes?" Tengu said unhappily, "You're the one who's not smart. How can you grow so fast and win the favor of a venerable if you're not smart?" He Xiaoyu scoffed. That's true. I always feel that he's changed after he was pulled out of the water last time." Tengu was deep in thought too. Was this Han Fei's true nature? Suddenly, He Xiaoyu mumbled, "Do you think this Han Fei was transformed from a fish? According to the legends, there are fish that can turn into human beings in the distant unknown place." Tengu snorted and looked at He Xiaoyu speechlessly. "I don't think there's anything wrong with my brother, but there's something wrong with your head." At this moment, Han Fei was already throwing the fish 1 by 1. Every time he did so, he would put on a happy smile. Tengu and He Xiaoyu were both dumbfounded. He Xiaoyu said, "Let me help you. Don't move." Han Fei pointed at He Xiaoyu, who was about to jump down, and yelled, "You're a girl. Why are you doing hard work? Sit down and enjoy the barbecue." Tengu chuckled. "I'll help you. Don't move either." Tengu. Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Fine, wait for me. Throwing the fish is not urgent. I'll teach you the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing." He Xiaoyu pouted. "Okay, I'm going back." Han Fei asked, "Why are you going back? Let's learn it together." "Huh?" He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei in shock. Is that true? I can learn it too?" Han Fei waved his hand generously and said, "I don't have many friends in recent years. You're the only one I have except for Tengu. How can I forget you when something good happens? Han Fei murmured as he climbed the cliff. I won't tell you that I'm only teaching you because I don't want you to throw my fish. Xiaoyu was very excited. According to Feng Zhe, it was a top battle technique that only the legendary venerables were capable of. As for what the venerables were, they were very powerful. Tengu was the same. He once thought that Han Fei would be doomed, and he even thought that Han Fei would be in great danger in the fishing trial. But at this moment, Han Fei began to teach him combat skills. Han Fei said, "Stand still and watch my movements. Try not to make any mistakes." Tengu nodded. Okay. Xiaoyu nodded. No problem. As a result, the first movement was to lean back with one hand on the ground and the other hand on the feet. Han Fei did it easily. Tengu blushed and thought that it was a bit difficult. Xiaoyu simply fell asleep on the ground. Han Fei asked, Xiaoyu, can you do it? A girl's body is softer than a boy's. Why are you sleeping on the ground? Xiaoyu said, it's so difficult. Han Fei asked, then do you want to learn it? Xiaoyu nodded like a chick pecking rice. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Han Fei taught them 18 movements in a row. Both Tengu and Xiaoyu were sweating hard by the 8th movement, and they almost collapsed to the ground after the 18th. Han Fei was confused. Although it was difficult for him to practice it, he was able to complete 36 movements, which was a minor circulation. Was it because he didn't teach them well? In the sky, Feng Zhe witnessed the whole scene and nodded now and then. It was indeed a top battle technique. Every movement mobilized all the muscles of the human body. If they practiced it for a long time, the human body might be able to complete many movements that others couldn't. He wondered if he should learn it as well. Forget it. It doesn't matter if the juniors learn it. But if I learn it, Tengu and Xiaoyu were covered in sweat and breathless as if they had just been fished out of water. After they slowly sat down, Tengu suddenly sensed something. I feel that the upper limit of spiritual energy in my body has increased. Xiaoyu asked, really? It's true. The two of them were about to tell Han Fei the good news, only to find that Han Fei had disappeared. They went to the edge of the cliff, only to find that Han Fei had begun to throw the fish diligently, humming as he threw them, and couldn't help smiling. Seeing their heads sticking out, Han Fei said angrily, "You're going to stop now? You can't stop until tomorrow morning." Xiaoyu was horrified. She felt that the world was collapsing after she just finished the 18 movements, but Han Fei was telling her that he had to practice until tomorrow morning. Was he crazy? Tang Ji's lips twitched too, wondering if he was capable of continuing the practice. Suddenly, Han Fei slapped his forehead and said, "Hey, Tengu, I have the iron fish body polishing fluid. I forgot to tell you. Take a little, and then you won't feel anything when you practice." I practiced it for 3 days and 3 nights. Immediately, Tengu was refreshed and looked at Han Fei in shock. It was very difficult to complete the extremely difficult movement just now, but Han Fei practiced for 3 days and 3 nights. Furthermore, Han Fei was not only practicing these 18 movements, there were 108 postures in the set. Immediately, Tengu said from his throat, "Xiaoyu, let's go and practice." While Han Fei was tossing fish and Tengu and Xiaoyu were practicing, Mingtang came to Han Fei's house aggressively. Mingtang's face was gloomy. "Yes, you helped my daughter in the fishing trial, but it doesn't mean you can abduct her. But look, now this girl has learned to stay out at night." When Mingtang was about to approach Han Fei's house, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him, giving him a fright. He was dumbfounded when he took a closer look. Lord Angel. Feng Zhe asked, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Mingtang hurried to reply, "Lord Angel, I'm here for my daughter. Tomorrow is the day of the awakening, but my daughter hasn't returned yet, so I'm here to look for her." Feng Zhe said casually, "You mean the girl named Xiaoyu?" Mingtang nodded quickly. Xiaoyu was indeed at Han Fei's house. Feng Zhe waved his hand and said, "Go back. Xiaoyu has received an opportunity and is practicing an ultimate combat skill. She will go there tomorrow." An ultimate combat skill. Yes, I'll take my leave." He Ming was shocked. An ultimate combat skill from the mouth of an angel? His daughter was awesome. Immediately, his anger was gone. He looked back with a smile as he walked. Chapter Error. Chapter 58. Han Fei's hands were sore after throwing fish for a whole night. However, when he looked at his own data, he immediately beamed with joy. Owner Han Fei, Level 7, Advanced Fisher, Spiritual Energy, Spiritual Heritage, Level 2, Low Quality, Upgradable, Weapon, Purple Bamboo Rod, Main Art, Void Fishing, Chapter 1. Hook Kiss, Mortal Level, Divine Quality. He had spent a lot of spiritual energy in the fishing trial, both fishing and fighting. As a result, he had less than 27,000 points of spiritual energy left after the trial. But now he had earned 10,000 points back in the blink of an eye. Not bad. Seeing that it was going to be dawn in less than 2 hours, Han Fei wondered if he should upgrade the level of his spiritual heritage. If spiritual awakening was really related to one's own potential, the level of the spiritual heritage must be very important. Although he knew that Feng Zhe was around, what if he couldn't find him? After thinking for a long time, Han Fei decided to give it a try. He dared to take the gamble because he didn't think that Feng Zhe was as important as people thought. The Heavenly Water Village was just a small village. There were towns and cities above it. If Feng Zhe was here to host the spiritual awakening, did it mean that all the other villages and towns were hosted by similar experts? Even if Feng Zhe noticed something wrong, Han Fei could fool him with a story. Even if he couldn't, Feng Zhe wouldn't necessarily do anything to him. Thinking about that, Han Fei climbed the cliff. But the moment he reached it, he saw Feng Zhe sitting on the roof of his house with barbecue and liquor in his hand. Seeing Han Fei, he said casually, "This food is really good. I didn't expect the lowest level spiritual fruit to be so delicious. Also, how was the liquor made? Tell me the principle later." Han Fei scratched his head. His plan to improve the level of his spiritual heritage was immediately gone. How could he improve his spiritual heritage when Feng Zhe was standing right in front of him? The demon purification pot couldn't be exposed no matter what. Han Fei hurried to say, "If you like it, I'll give you the method of barbecue later." Feng Zhe nodded and waved his hand, and a vintage jade pendant floated before Han Fei's eyes. Feng Zhe said, "I won't take advantage of you. I promised that the top 3 finishers of the fishing trial would receive the spirit concentration art. But since you won the first place and contributed the incomplete methods of 108 ways of body polishing, this spiritual book is for you, which contains many ways to practice as a spirit gatherer. As for how much you can achieve, it depends on your own efforts." Han Fei was shocked. From the spirit gathering art to the cultivation method of a spirit gatherer, was it the path of a master like the armorist of the Wang family? "Thank you, Your Excellency." Feng Zhe ignored Han Fei, and Han Fei came to Tangu and He Xiaoyu. The two of them were not just sweating, but smoking from their cultivation. There was no telling what Feng Zhe had fed them. However, Han Fei could guess what it was because of the alluring fragrance around them. They must have just taken a spiritual fruit, like the crimson sea fruit. Han Fei joined the cultivation too, but he did not ask Feng Zhe for the spiritual fruit. Exchanging spiritual fruits for a boat was a bargain in his eyes. In the morning, when the sun rose, the clear sky was crimson. Every time he saw such a scene, Han Fei felt that the world was too wonderful and fantastic. Kacha! He Xiaoyu, who was maintaining a weird posture, heard cracking noises from her body. She seemed to have broken a certain shackle, and abundant, unknown materials popped up from her body. Marrow cleansing? Han Fei saw at a glance. He was in the same situation. Last time, he upgraded his technique, and the effect was better. The surface of his body was all sticky. He Xiaoyu had only taken 1 spiritual fruit. The effect was probably not as good as his. "I'm level 8 now." "BM." He Xiaoyu simply lay on the ground. She was too tired. Practicing the 18 movements overnight was too exhausting for a little girl who had never suffered so much. Tangu, on the other hand, did not rise until he finished the last movement. "Awesome." Tangu grinned and said, "I feel that the upper limit of my spiritual energy has increased by at least 30 points. This incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body conditioning is so awesome. Han Fei was dumbfounded. How much did you increase? Tengu said 30 points. Didn't you? Han Fei was lost for words. He did not want to talk to Tengu. Was this the so-called genius with a level 7 spiritual heritage? I've only gained a dozen or so points after completing all 108 great circulatory cycle. As he expected, Xiaoyu said enviously, So much? Why do I feel that I only gained about 10 points? Han Fei said gloomily, I gained even less. Ha ha! Feng Zhe appeared and laughed. This is the power of the spiritual heritage. A level 7 high-quality spiritual heritage is completely incomparable to a low-level spiritual heritage. Not bad. After you learn all the 108 movements, Tengu, you will probably be invincible on your level. Ha ha! Han Fei could see how happy Feng Zhe was. Perhaps after they returned to the city, Feng Zhe would be able to show off to the people who were sent out with him. What was the most sacred place on the floating island? Of course, it was the center of the floating island. Even the village leader was not qualified to live here. Even if it was a low-grade floating island, everyone would still show respect to the central part. It was the first time that Han Fei had come to the center of the floating island of the Heavenly Water Village. There was a stone statue of a woman, one of her hands raised high, holding a fishing rod in her hand. There were many tributes placed in front of the statue, which seemed to have just been placed there. Daughter, He Mingtang had been waiting here for a long time. He was relieved to see Xiaoyu come with Han Fei and Tengu. He Mingtang looked at Xiaoyu carefully and asked in shock, Daughter, have you become a level 8 fisher? Xiaoyu blushed slightly. Dad, don't ask so many questions. He Mingtang nodded. Yes, I won't ask. Just keep it to yourself. Don't tell me. He Mingtang was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. It seemed that hanging out with Han Fei and the others was also beneficial. He thought that even Han Fei was just a bonus. Lord Angel must have felt that they were good friends with Tengu, so he gave them the ultimate combat skill. He Mingtang said, Okay, the three of you go in and worship the sea god, and then join the team. You will be the first to start the awakening. Don't slack off. Han Fei was stunned. Isn't the sea god a man? He Mingtang's face darkened. Don't talk nonsense. Don't say such absurd words when worshiping the sea god. Han Fei muttered, The sea god of my hometown is a big beard and holds a trident in his hand, which is much better than this. This thing, holding a fishing rod, immediately lowers the level. There were no rules for worshiping the sea god. Han Fei took out his own fishing rod, leaned his head against the fishing rod, and muttered. He didn't know what he was saying, but it should be praying. After worshiping the sea god, the three of them entered the inner circle of the center behind the sea god statue. This was a pit with a radius of about 200 meters, but the bottom was flat, with many complicated patterns carved on it. It looked like a gorgeous swimming pool. Around the large pool, there were rows of steps, just like the steps outside the stadium. At this moment, the steps were filled with people, and it could be said to be a sea of people. Many people would come to watch the annual event. Some came to see their children, and some came to watch the fun. At this moment, Han Fei and the others were led to the back of the sea god statue, where there were steps leading to the pool. At this moment, Han Fei saw Wang Baiyu, Xiang Nan, Chun Qing, and a few others he didn't know, but they all nodded at each other. After all, since they had entered the top 10 circle, it meant that these children were not ordinary. They were the 10 most outstanding teenagers on the floating island with a population of 600,000. Before the awakening began, someone was already shouting the names of the top 10. Tengu, 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 Wang Baiyu, Wang Baiyu, Wang Baiyu, Xiang Nan, Xiang Nan, Xiang Nan. Waves of cheers rose and fell, one louder than the other. Of course, almost no one shouted for a dark horse like Han Fei, because they had just met him and didn't recognize him at all. But Tengu was different. His name had become a model for the Heavenly Water Village. Even Xiaoyu had some people cheering for her. Among them, the most popular were Tengu, Wang Baiyu, and Xiang Nan. Han Fei. Suddenly, a loud roar made the atmosphere stagnate, and everyone looked at the person who shouted Han Fei. Chapter Error. Chapter 59. Looking at the source of the voice, everyone saw Xiao Wushuang, who was supposed to be in the top 10, sitting in the auditorium with his hands dangling. This guy seemed to not see the faces of other audience members and continued to shout, Han Fei. The scene was weird. Only Xiao Wushuang shouted Han Fei twice. Good job. Suddenly, there was another explosion. Everyone looked at the source of the sound, only to see Han Fei raising his hand and waving at the auditorium. Everyone, next to Fei, He Xiaoyu, Wang Baiyu, and the others were dumbfounded. Are we not ashamed? Xiao Wushuang clenched his fists. He knew that everyone had underestimated Han Fei. He had personally experienced that kind of power that shouldn't be possessed by a student of the fishing trial at all. It was simply terrifying. Han Fei said, "Look, the eyes of the people are clear." He Xiaoyu said, "Maybe he's blind. Why didn't anyone shout my name?" Han Fei said, "They are preparing to introduce their sons to you secretly. If they shout your name now, they will create a competitor." "Bah, you are the worst." Tengu said, "It's actually not good to be called by my name. I don't know them." Han Fei said, "It means that you are popular. You are a role model." Tengu said, "I think you can also be a role model." He Xiaoyu said, "I could be a role model for girls. There is only one girl in the top 10. Wang Baiyu listened to the conversation of the three of them and was a little helpless. "Aren't you nervous? This is a natural awakening skill. It's related to the rest of your life." Wang Baiyu said, "Han Fei, Tengu, remember to walk to the center. There will be benefits if you walk to the center." Han Fei asked, "What's the big hole in the center for?" Wang Baiyu said, "That's where the spirit awakening fluid is sprayed out." Pooh! Han Fei almost choked, as if he had never seen this kind of thing before. Han Fei said, "Isn't there too much spirit awakening fluid? Such a big pool is enough for tens of thousands of people to bathe in." Wang Baiyu said, "Diluted spirit awakening fluid. Haven't you seen the previous natural awakening skills?" Han Fei immediately said, "Of course I have. I haven't tried it yet. Good heavens, if only I could bathe here every day." Everyone, after a while, all the students in the top 1,000 were in position. At this moment, Village Chief came to the front of everyone and shouted loudly, "Everyone be quiet. This year, the activation of the innate talent is about to begin. The rules are the same as the previous years. The top 10 will enter the pool first. 1 hour later, the top 100 will enter the pool. 2 hours later, everyone else will enter the pool. All spirit awakeners, once your spiritual beasts awaken, leave the pool immediately. No one is allowed to stay." Holding the list, the village leader read, "Now let Han Fei, Tengu, Wang Baiyu, He Xiaoyu, Jia Tong, Li Yunyuan, and Chen Xing enter the pool." Everyone was excited and took the lead to walk downstairs. The students behind them were extremely envious. This was the difference in treatment between the top few. Because these few people might be the most talented, they could enjoy the best resources. Next would be the top 100. The rest might not have much difference in talent, so they might as well enter the pool at the same time. At this moment, there was no so-called spirit awakening fluid in the pool, so they all walked to the center. They spread out and sat down about 10 meters away from the big hole. He Xiaoyu and Tengu sat on Han Fei's left and right, about 5 meters away from each other. He Xiaoyu asked, "Han Fei, what do you think my spiritual beast is?" "I'm so excited, so excited." Han Fei thought for a moment. "I've only seen Mr. Wang Jie's big crab since I came to this world. Li Hu shouldn't be counted as a spiritual beast." So Han Fei said, "It may be a crab. That's too ugly. I don't want crab." Spiritual beasts are not necessarily from ordinary fisheries. Many people's spiritual beasts are unheard of. Some people even awaken corals. Han Fei asked, "What? Corals are beasts?" He Xiaoyu said, "I don't know. I don't think so. But it seems that those who awaken corals are particularly good at defense. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it." Han Fei looked at He Xiaoyu speechlessly. He felt that it was good enough to have a true spiritual beast. Why would he be picky? But Han Fei was also curious. This thing was like opening a treasure chest. The treasure was a creature in the sea, and the way of drawing was completely random. Wang Baiyu said, Most people's spiritual beasts are familiar to us, but exotic spiritual beasts are not bad. Hula. As soon as Wang Baiyu said that, a pillar of water spurted out. Tenga said, "Calm down. Don't be distracted." The water came out very quickly. In a short while, the 200 meters wide pool was covered with a small layer of water. A moment later, the water had already reached everyone's chest. At this time, a green liquid came out from the big hole, instantly dyeing the entire pool green. Then, the water had already reached their chins. Tengu said, "Hold your breath." Han Fei took a deep breath. Not long after that, the water in the pool had already reached their heads. Everybody seemed to be fixed at the bottom of the water. Han Fei looked at Tengu and He Xiaoyu, only to find that both of them had their eyes closed, and so did the others. So, Han Fei closed his eyes too. The moment he closed his eyes, Han Fei suddenly felt that he had entered a wonderful state, as if he had entered a vast ocean. The gentle waves washed his body, and his mind was drifting. If he had to describe it, it would be like someone was caressing him with an extremely warm hand, which was very comfortable. In his mind, it was a dark world. There seemed to be countless twinkling stars around and far away, and these stars seemed to be pouring into his body crazily. After a long time, when the twinkling stars disappeared, Han Fei seemed to be in a complicated tube, and his body seemed to be shuttling like a beam of light, until he saw a sea. Han Fei couldn't see what was in the sea. He felt that the water was very clear, but there seemed to be a film between the water and him that he couldn't penetrate. Suddenly, Han Fei saw a small calabash in front of him. Han Fei was shocked. "Why are you everywhere? I'm in the middle of an awakening. Why are you here?" But the demon purification pot ignored him and slowly began to revolve on its own. Han Fei sensed that a lot of fish swarmed the moment the demon purification pot appeared. But those fish couldn't penetrate the film, so the fish in front of the film kept changing and hitting the film. Outside, half an hour had passed. Suddenly, the surface of the water moved, and someone exclaimed, "It's here. It's Chun-Qing." Voila! Chun-Qing's body suddenly shivered, and a fish as long as a sword appeared next to him and began to swim around him. Someone sighed. "It's a swordfish. It's the most aggressive fish in the level 1 fishery, but it's too common." Someone retorted, "What do you know? It's still a fish from the level 1 fishery, no matter how common it is. Most people's fish are from the general fishery." The village leader glanced at the swordfish and slightly shook his head. Swordfish were too common. Too many people in the town had swordfish as their spiritual beasts. They were completely unremarkable. Then, there was another movement from the bottom of the pool. This time, it was Li Yuan, and a meat turtle appeared next to him. Immediately, the audience burst into an uproar. Someone exclaimed, "A meat turtle! A meat turtle has appeared this year." Li Yuan's father stood up in excitement. What did a meat turtle mean? It meant super high defense. With such a spiritual beast, his son wouldn't have to worry about dying in the general fishery or the level 1 fishery anymore. The village leader secretly nodded. Li Yuan was worth training in the future. Then, a big green crab appeared next to Jiatong, just like Wang Jie's crab. Unfortunately, the quality of the big green crab was not as high as Wang Jie's. Wang Jie's spiritual beast was a sapphire crab that could only be found in the level 1 fishery. Jiatong's was just a big green crab from the general fishery. It was obvious which one was better, but the audience didn't care. Someone even said enviously, "This crab can attack and defend. It's not bad at all." At this moment, He Mingtang was the most anxious one. Generally speaking, the longer one persisted, the stronger their spiritual beasts would be. The last 3 contestants had appeared. He wondered what his daughter's spiritual beast was. To He Mingtang's surprise, Zhang Chong, a student from the southern campus who ranked 6th, was the first to get an ironhead fish. He Mingtang was overjoyed. He thought that his daughter must have waited longer because she was more talented than those people. However, the ironhead fish also attracted a lot of cheers. Although everyone was talking about the ironhead fish here and there, the ironhead fish still attracted a lot of applause. This fish was as tough as iron, and its defense was not much weaker than the meat turtles. The fifth contestant got a swordfish. The fourth contestant and Xiang Nan got the first exotic fish, a ball fish, which was also the most common one. This meant that Xiang Nan would have extremely high attack power in the future. Even in the town, there weren't many youths who could get a ball fish. Suddenly, there was an anomaly underwater from He Xiaoyu. Chapter Error. Chapter 60. He Mingtang was so excited that his forehead was covered with sweat. Wang Jie said, "Don't be excited. Xiaoyu has persisted until now, so the spiritual beast she awakens can only be better than the previous ones." He Mingtang nodded. "Yes, it must be so." Pudong, village chief, shouted, "Mutant fish, mutant fish." All the audience stood up and looked at the fish in red, black, and white. They exclaimed, "I've never seen such a fish before, but so beautiful." He Mingtang burst into tears of excitement. "Exotic, it's an exotic fish. Ha! Our He family has an exotic spiritual beast." The village leader was also quite excited. How long had it been since an exotic spiritual beast appeared in the village? He couldn't remember. It had been at least decades. If Han Fei's eyes were open at this moment, he would have complained that so many people didn't even know what a clownfish was. At this moment, many people looked up at the sky, wondering if Feng Zhe knew what kind of fish it was. As everyone expected, Feng Zhe stood in the air and looked at the clownfish next to He Xiaoyu. This is a cardinal fish, also known as sea anemone fish. It is very territorial and aggressive and feeds on all kinds of sea anemones. It's very rare, but its growth ability is limited. If it can evolve into a black sparrow, this boy will be qualified to enter the city. The audience was in an uproar. Many people were shocked. Is it so advanced? It feeds on sea anemones and is even qualified to enter the city? Many teachers gathered around He Mingtang. "Mr. He, congratulations. You've given birth to an amazing daughter." He Mingtang said, "You flatter me. I was just lucky. Mr. He, I have a relative in the town. Can you think about it?" He Mingtang laughed. "Ha! My daughter is still young, still young." When a lot of people congratulated He Mingtang, those who awakened their spiritual beast before He Xiaoyu looked at He Xiaoyu enviously. At this moment, He Xiaoyu slowly opened her eyes, only to see a little fish whose front half was red, the back half was black, and there was a white mark on its head staring at her. She immediately narrowed her eyes into the shape of peach blossoms. "Wow, so cute, so beautiful. Are you my spiritual beast? Let's swim around." The clownfish seemed to understand human nature and swam around He Xiaoyu at an extremely fast speed, which made He Xiaoyu very happy. The village leader said, "Cough, cough. Those who have already acquired spiritual beasts, come out." At this time, He Xiaoyu finally realized that there were still many people watching. She immediately followed her father's instructions, and the clownfish instantly rushed into the center of her eyebrows and disappeared. He Xiaoyu also looked at the bottom of the water, only to find that Han Fei and Tang Ge were still there. They must have survived longer than her, so they must have better spiritual beasts. "Sigh, I don't think I've heard of this fish before. Let's go and ask." An hour was about to pass. Only Han Fei, Tang Ge, and Wang Baiyu were left in the water. At this moment, Wang Baiyu couldn't hold it anymore. There was an anomaly in the water, and then a green turtle with a high back appeared. This is an armored tortoise?" Someone was stunned. Any tortoise was extremely powerful. If the meat tortoise was invincible in the level 1 fishery, then the armored tortoise was close to the strongest defense in the level 1 or even level 2 fishery. It was close to invincible because of a legend that said there was another extremely rare tortoise in the level 1 fishery, which was the rock-holding tortoise. As the name suggested, the rock-holding tortoise would carry a stone on its back. It was said that the stone was embedded with a combat skill, but nobody had ever seen a rock-holding tortoise, so the armored tortoise was close to invincible. The ancestor of the Wang family was also watching. When he saw the armored tortoise, he nodded slightly. "Good boy," as expected of the Wang family. If this armored tortoise can make further progress, it will become a dark armored tortoise. By then, the Wang family will have another awesome armorist. Wang Baiyu was slightly disappointed to see the armored tortoise after he woke up, but he still patted its shell. At this time, He subconsciously looked into the water, only to find that Han Fei and Tangu had not woken up yet. Half an hour had passed, and the green color in the pool slightly faded. The village leader continued to shout, "The top 100 will enter the pool." Walala, like a group of people going to a bathhouse. Many people rushed to enter the water, fearing that they would absorb less spirit-awakening fluid than others. But the audience did not pay attention to them at this moment, but were all talking about Tangu and Han Fei. Someone said with a weird expression, "This Han Fei seems to be quite strong. Otherwise, how could he have stayed in the pool for so long?" Someone wondered, "Is he a genius who can rival Tangu?" Someone shook his head. "That's impossible. I'm told that Han Fei only had a level 1, high-quality spiritual heritage when he took the test. Maybe he just stayed in the pool for a long time." Suddenly, the center of the pool boiled, and a cluster of red flames suddenly rose. In the sky, Feng Zhe, who had been resting with his eyes closed, appeared behind the sea god statue in the blink of an eye, his eyes enthusiastic. Putong, a slender creature about half a meter in length, soared into the sky. This creature's entire body was fiery red, and its body was actually burning with dark red flames. There was only a white line running from its head to its tail. On its back, there were actually red and white bone wings. Looking at this creature again, it actually had a pair of large pincers. Everyone was dumbfounded, including the village leader. What was this? He Xiaoyu opened her mouth wide, and so did all the students who were waiting to enter the pool. This alien was too alien. The village leader did not know what it was at all. Anyway, he just called it alien. Tangu, Tangu, Tangu. Everyone in the stand was excited. This scene was too miraculous. There were actually raging flames burning in the water. This was simply unheard of. Tangu woke up and subconsciously looked at Han Fei, only to find that Han Fei had not woken up yet, and there was no one around him. He smiled and surfaced. The first thing Tangu saw when he came out of the water was shrimp. This shrimp looked so strange. It was burning. Seeing that Tangu had woken up, Feng Zhe's excited voice resounded throughout the audience. If my guess is correct, this is the legendary white dragon feather lobster. It is said that its pincers are as hard as divine iron. Unfortunately, I've never seen it. It's just my guess. You don't need to take it seriously. Feng Zhe felt that this trip was totally worth it. He could almost predict that Tangu would rise in the city soon, and as Tang Ji's guide, his position would rise. The stronger Tangu was, the higher his position would be. Tangu murmured, "White dragon feather lobster? It's red. You're burning all over. How about I call you Little Fire?" The white dragon feather lobster crawled to Tang Ji's head and raised its pincers to grab the air. Tangu went ashore in everyone's envy and cheers. Feng Zhe said, Good, good, good. You probably got a legendary shrimp-like spiritual beast." Although Tangu was excited, he still looked at the pool. Feng Zhe said, "Since your little brother can stay here for so long, I don't think his spiritual beast is bad. Just wait." Everyone was looking forward to Han Fei's performance, but after a moment, the hundreds of students who came later all activated their spiritual beasts. Unfortunately, they were not good enough. The president shouted from time to time, "Chun Fei, awaken the blade, fish spiritual beast. Qianyu, awaken the green turtle spiritual beast. Sun Luo Luo, awaken the blade, fish spiritual beast." Han Fei was a little bored. He watched all kinds of marine creatures on the other side of the film change batch after batch. At first, all kinds of marine creatures came up to watch, but as time went by, there were fewer and fewer of them, but they were also more and more ferocious. He even saw a big fish bite a green crab to pieces with its mouth full of fangs, and then the big fish was pierced by an eel. Is it because my spiritual heritage is not high enough? Han Fei had an obsession. He could feel the surging water around him. He Xiaoyu and Tangu seemed to have finished. Didn't they say that the longer one stayed underwater, the higher one's potential would be? Calabash, can you upgrade my spiritual heritage? The demon purification pot ignored him and continued to wander around. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that his eyes were white. Through the film, he could vaguely see a gray, white, or black line. Anyway, it was a pure-colored fish. Huh? Why are you nodding? We're the big lobsters, crabs, and turtles. Don't you think this little fish will be swallowed? But the moment the little fish appeared, the calabash began to spin crazily. The transparent film seemed to be about to be broken, and the little fish pushed the film with its head. Outside, a vortex suddenly appeared on Han Fei's body. Someone exclaimed, "It's coming!" Chapter error. Chapter 61. The audience was in an uproar, and everyone was looking forward to what kind of spiritual beast the winner of the fishing trial would get. Someone said, "It should be an exotic fish." After all, there was a sound when it was opened. Someone nodded. "It should be. What kind of exotic fish do you think Han Fei will get?" Someone guessed, "I don't think it will be better than Tangu." Someone denied, "Not necessarily. He stayed longer than Tangu." At this moment, Han Fei was a little excited. He felt that the thin film was about to break. Did this mean that his spiritual beast was this little fish? Chilla. Suddenly, the thin film broke, and he felt a flash of spiritual light rushing into the space between his eyebrows. However, to his astonishment, there seemed to be more than one beam of light. There seemed to be another. Outside, a pure white little fish suddenly appeared beside Han Fei and then began to wander around Han Fei. Spirit-swallowing fish. What? Just a spirit-swallowing fish? Are you kidding me? I thought it was an exotic fish. No way. He made such a big noise, and only a spirit-swallowing fish came out? For a time, the stand were all talking, and everyone seemed very puzzled. Suddenly, someone said, "No, this spirit-swallowing fish has long whiskers on its face, tail, and fins. It seems to be much better looking than ordinary spirit-swallowing fish." Someone with sharp eyes pointed at the head of the little white fish and said, "Look, there's a black spot on the head of this spirit-swallowing fish." Everyone immediately looked over and found that there was a round black spot on the fish's head. But what did this mean? It was still a F** king spirit-swallowing fish. Someone shook his head. "This is too normal. I once caught a spirit-swallowing fish with 2 red fins. Isn't it still a spirit-swallowing fish?" Someone agreed. "Yes, I also caught a spirit-swallowing fish with a long black tail. It's just a little mutated, but it's still a spirit-swallowing fish." The village leader glanced at it and was a little disappointed, but he still looked at Fong Zhe, hoping that Fong Zhe could give an answer. Han Fei and He Xiaoyu also looked at Fong Zhe expectantly. Fong Zhe shook his head. "Maybe this spirit-swallowing fish has a little mutated, but it's not outstanding. Ordinary people don't understand. But even the worst exotic fish is much stronger than their ordinary spiritual beasts. It needs to be discovered by itself." Tangu asked, "Not bad." Fong Zhe, "It's not good, but it's not as bad as it looks." Hearing Fong Zhe's words, some people were disappointed, some people's eyes lit up, and some people were disdainful. Of course, there were also many people who were envious, such as the students who were not in the top 1,000. Someone mocked, "Spirit-swallowing fish are useless. In terms of practicality, it's not as good as green turtles. At least green turtles are very hard. This spirit-swallowing fish can only be used to make soup." Someone tried to explain, "Actually, it's not bad. After all, it's an exotic fish. At least it has more spiritual energy than other fish, right?" Someone sneered, "Come on. Apart from its high spiritual energy, it could only be used to boil soup. Spirit-swallowing fish are the easiest to catch in the level 1 fishery. Otherwise, how could the 4 major schools have so much spirit-swallowing fish soup?" Han Fei opened his eyes and surfaced, only to see a beautiful white fish with a long whisker and a long tail and a black dot on its forehead. Beside this small white fish was a small black fish with a long whisker and a long tail. There was a white dot on its forehead. A string of data appeared in front of him. Gifted spiritual beast, name, twin yin-yang spirit-swallowing fish, introduction. This is a descendant of the mysterious ancient yin-yang sky-swallowing fish. The black and white fish live together. The white fish is docile, while the black fish is cruel. They're symbiotic. As long as one of them survives, the other will not die. Level 0, quality, mysterious, storage of spiritual energy greater than 100 points, food omnivorous. Can swallow anything. Note, the black fish is invisible. Except for the owner, only the yin-yang divine eyes born by heaven and earth can see through it. Han Fei's eyes were dull. What kind of fish did I catch? Twin yin-yang sky-swallowing fish. The name sounds awesome, but what kind of mysterious fish is it? Come out. Don't look at it. It's just a spirit-swallowing fish. What are you looking at? It's just a spirit-swallowing fish. We've been excited for a long time. It's just the most common spirit-swallowing fish. What a waste of time. The audience booed, but Han Fei smiled. A bunch of idiots. I'm afraid you don't know what kind of awesome fish I've caught. But that's fine. I don't want a large group of people to make trouble for me. Han Fei glanced at the black fish that was circling with the little white fish and smiled even more brightly. Sure enough, no one can see you. With a thought from Han Fei, 2 rays of spiritual energy disappeared between his eyebrows. After Han Fei went ashore, Tang Gu patted Han Fei's shoulder solemnly. It's okay. At least it's an exotic spirit-swallowing fish. And it's said that every cultivator can sign a contract with many fish, such as the tiger-head fish of the tigers. Let's sign a powerful demonic fish in the future. He Xiaoyu said, Han Fei, don't care about those people. Maybe your spirit-swallowing fish has some effect that they don't know. Wang Jia also came to Han Fei's side at this moment. Yes, in fact, you are also an exotic fish. Although we often drink spirit-swallowing fish soup, not many people can awaken a spirit-swallowing fish as a spiritual beast. At this moment, the village leader shouted, Wu Lei, awaken a spirit-swallowing fish as a spiritual beast. Wang Jia. Well, Han Fei's face was black. Does your face hurt? Fang Zhe was also a little disappointed. He thought that this person who had been enlightened by a venerable would awaken a powerful exotic spiritual beast, but it turned out to be a pity. Everyone was in low spirits, but Han Fei said with a smile, What's wrong with a spirit-swallowing fish? Even if it's a spirit-swallowing fish, my spirit-swallowing fish is the strongest in the infinite ocean. Everyone, not far away, some teenagers who hadn't entered the pool rolled their eyes. The strongest spirit-swallowing fish in the infinite ocean? Why don't you go to heaven? Han Fei looked at Tang Gu. What did you get? Tang Gu hesitated. He didn't want to discourage Han Fei. Should I say it or not? But Yi Xiaoyu blurted out, an exotic fish, a legendary level white dragon feather lobster that even Lord Angel has never seen. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Legendary? Tang Gu nodded. You have to be strong yourself. Cultivation can't only depend on spiritual beasts. Han Fei knew that Tang Gu didn't want to discourage him. So he looked at Yi Xiaoyu and asked, What about you? Did you get a big crab? Yi Xiaoyu immediately said angrily, What big crab? I don't know how to get a big crab. Look, my little red is so beautiful. With a flash between Yi Xiaoyu's eyebrows, the clownfish appeared in midair and swam around Yi Xiaoyu. Han Fei blurted out, Clownfish? Smack! Yi Xiaoyu came up and slapped him. Bah, not clownfish. It should be called a mermaid. Han Fei. Although he said clownfish, what Han Fei saw was not clownfish. A string of data appeared. Spiritual beast, name, cardinal fish, introduction, a rare fish species with strong territorial awareness and combat ability. It feeds on various sea anemones and can digest various venoms. Level 0, quality, rare, stored spiritual energy greater than 100 points, food, sea anemone. Note, if it evolves into a black sparrow, it will become an exotic fish species. Han Fei thought of the man eating sea anemone he saw at the bottom of the sea and couldn't help but be surprised. This fish feeds on sea anemones. Yi Xiaoyu snorted. Yes, its name is also nice. It's called cardinal. Han Fei asked, You all got an exotic fish? How many people got an exotic fish? Yi Xiaoyu replied, Just me and Tang Gu. Well, Wang Baiyu got a big turtle. Your spirit-swallowing fish should be at the same level as his big turtle. Han Fei knew that Yi Xiaoyu was comforting him. How could a spirit-swallowing fish be at the same level as a big turtle? Even a big meat turtle was much stronger than a spirit-swallowing fish. The people who entered the pool later opened their spiritual beasts very quickly. Almost no one lasted more than half an hour. None of them got an exotic fish. The best one got a snake belt. After that, the remaining 900 people entered the pool. The water in the pool quickly began to fade, and these people opened their spiritual beasts even faster. In almost half an hour, all of them had opened their spiritual beasts, and the best one got a mutant tentacle lobster. When there were only a few dozen people left in the pool, the green spirit awakening fluid had been completely absorbed. Some of these people cried. I worked so hard to get into the top 1,000, but it's all gone now. Of course, Han Fei and the others couldn't see this because they had already left and went home to practice the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing. Chapter Error. Chapter 62. The cottage where Han Fei lived had become an absolute forbidden area. Even the village leader couldn't come within a kilometer of it. 7 days passed. The sun was setting. In the courtyard of Han Fei's house, Tango was panting and sweating hard with his hands on his knees. Tango was sweating hard, but he laughed. I finally completed the 108 postures in one go. He Xiaoyu was still completing the 96th posture. Her hair was already wet with sweat, but the girl still asked persistently, Tango, how much has your upper limit of spiritual energy increased? Tango sensed it. I don't know how much, but it seems to be at 299 points. It can't be improved anymore. He Xiaoyu exclaimed. 299 points? So high. Can a level 9 fisher have such a high tolerance for spiritual energy? I think it's only 199 points, but I think it can be improved. I just need to finish all the 108 postures in one go. Han Fei, how much do you have? Han Fei looked at his data. Owner Han Fei, level 7, advanced fisher, spiritual energy, spiritual heritage, level 2, low quality, upgradable. Spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish, weapon, purple bamboo rod, main art, void fishing, chapter 1. Hook kiss, mortal level, divine quality. Han Fei was confused. 299 points seemed to be a threshold, but Tango was already a level 9 fisher. Was his upper limit of spiritual energy only 299 points? Han Fei grinned. What a coincidence. I also have 199 points. He Xiaoyu's eyes lit up. I'm about to surpass you. In the past few days, Han Fei didn't dare to cultivate or upgrade his spiritual heritage. He could only practice the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing with Tangu and the others. In fact, he had already reached 299 points. He knew that he couldn't increase it if he didn't make a breakthrough. However, his breakthrough was too noisy to be seen by an outsider like Feng Zhe. So he just practiced the 108 postures over and over again. Of course, in addition to that, he would go to the plantation and the barbecue stall. But every time he brought back, more than half of the barbecue would end up in Feng Zhe's mouth. This guy would never lower himself to buy food from a barbecue stall. Every time, he would give Han Fei a look, so Han Fei became the errand boy. The only person who could come to Han Fei's cabin these days was Li Gang. Every time Li Gang came, he was terrified. He was just a hooligan. This was the first time he saw such a high and mighty figure like an angel. Fortunately, Feng Zhe knew that this guy was here to deliver the materials for distilling spirits. Otherwise, he would have slapped him to death. At this moment, Feng Zhe was amazed. A level 9 fisher with an upper limit of 299 points of spiritual energy. How many people in the city could achieve that? And this was under the situation where he hadn't reached the peak. If he reached the peak, wouldn't it directly surpass 300? It seemed that only fishing masters could do that. What was his upper limit of spiritual energy when he was a level 9 fisher? From here? But now, even unimportant people like He Xiaoyu and Han Fei had gained 199 points just by practicing an incomplete top-level battle technique. It was truly unusual. If Feng Zhe knew that Han Fei's upper limit of spiritual energy was 299 points, he would be shocked. No matter how poor Han Fei's spiritual heritage was, he would take him back to the city. Feng Zhe came down from the roof and looked at Tangu. It's almost time. You're free to do whatever you want tonight. When Fong Zhe said this, Tang Ge fell silent. Is it almost time? Are we leaving? He Xiaoyu's eyes turned red when she heard this. Are we going to separate? She felt that she had just found another good friend. Are we leaving now? Han Fei patted Tang Gu on the shoulder and said, I'll ask Li Gang to close the world's most delicious barbecue stall tonight and ask him to make barbecue for us. Tang Gu said in whine. Han Fei nodded. As much as you want. Both of them grinned. As good brothers, there are many things that they didn't need to say. At night, Li Gang rolled over quickly. When he came to Han Fei, he didn't dare to look around and even didn't dare to walk fast. His wife, Little Red, looked around and seemed to be very curious about why young Master Han Fei lived in such a place. Li Gang said, Hong, don't look. Don't look. You can't offend the angel. Little Red nodded. Okay. At this time, Han Fei said with a smile, Gang, don't worry. Master Angel is not here. You'll be responsible for the barbecue tonight. Make a lot. Hearing that Fong Zhe was not here, Li Gang was relieved and immediately beamed with joy. Okay, young master. They drank wine, ate skewers, and bragged. Tang Ge said, Actually, I asked senior brother Fong Zhe. He said that I can come down even if I'm up there. When I become stronger, I can come down. Han Fei said, It's okay. If you can't come down, I can go up there to drink and eat skewers with you. Tang Ge smiled. I know you can. Others think that you rely on me, but I know you don't. You could become a level 7 fisher in a month. Your talent is definitely not ordinary. He Xiaoyu glanced at Han Fei, not believing him, and just ate the skewers in silence. Han Fei suddenly asked, Don't city people have to go fishing in the sea? If they don't fish, how can they become stronger? Tang Ge said, Yes, but they don't need to fly up and down in the city every day. There seems to be a teleportation array or something. And it's said that the lowest place you can go is the level 2 fishery. Han Fei said, That's easy. Maybe I can go to the level 2 fishery soon. Tang Ge shook his head. It said that there are many level 2 fisheries in the city. Han Fei nodded. That makes sense. There were countless villages and towns under the city, so it was only natural that there were many level 2 fisheries. So for the whole night, the two of them drank and ate kebabs until they were about to throw up. Han Fei's face was flushed, and he was completely drunk, but he still said arrogantly, You go up first. I'll go up sooner or later. My goal is the infinite ocean. As a gold miner, there is no place in this world that I dare not go. He Xiaoyu said, He's drunk. Tang Ge said, This wine is really strong. Then Tang Ge rose and bowed to He Xiaoyu. He Xiaoyu, Han Fei has no friends. You may be his only friend. Please take good care of him for me. He Xiaoyu said, He will bully me. Tang Ge grinned. He won't. He Xiaoyu said, Okay then. For the sake of the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing he taught me, I'll take care of him. Tang Ge said, Then I'm leaving. He Xiaoyu asked now. Tang Ge said, Yes. Tang Ge left without leaving anything behind. All good things must come to an end, but he believed that they would meet again. Lying on the ground, Han Fei was still murmuring, My goal is the infinite ocean and an endless treasures. The tigers. Li Ju's face was extremely gloomy and he was extremely scared. Li, who was disabled by Han Fei, and the tiger-head fish was seriously injured. Fortunately, the contractual spiritual fish was extremely tenacious, but it was still almost killed. He was very angry and wanted to kill Han Fei, but he didn't dare to. As long as Tang Ge and Fong Zhe didn't leave, he didn't dare to give himself away. Li Ju, come out. Li Ju's heart trembled. Is it coming? Then he smiled bitterly. It had finally come. When Li Hu robbed Han Fei, he knew that this day would come. No matter how powerful Li Ju was, he was just an ant in Fong Zhe's eyes. Creatures like ants could be crushed with a single finger. At the gate of the tigers, Li Ju said, Nice to meet you, young Master Tang Ge. Tang Ge didn't hide the killing intent in his eyes. Don't pretend. I know what kind of person you are. You are very angry and want to kill my brother. Li Ju said, I dare not. Tang Ge chuckled. I wanted to kill you directly, but when I saw Han Fei today, I don't think it's necessary. Li Ju, You're only worthy of being a stepping stone for my brother. Li Ju didn't say anything, but his pale fingers exposed the fury in his heart at the moment. Tengu sneered. No matter how angry you are, your Li family has repeatedly attacked my brother. You can be spared from death, but you can't be forgiven. I'll give you a chance. Hurt yourself, and you won't be able to recover within half a year. Li Ju's eyes turned cold. Did Tengu really want to keep him as a stepping stone for Han Fei? But did Han Fei deserve it? Li Ju bit the corner of his mouth so hard that blood came out, and he said almost without hesitation, "Thank you for sparing my life, young Master Tengu." BM. Dozens of parts of Li Ju's body and limbs exploded one after another. For a time, blood flowed out and he vomited large mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, Feng Zhe quietly appeared beside Tengu, watching all this indifferently. Tengu looked at Feng Zhe, who nodded, meaning that Li Ju did it. On the way away, Feng Zhe asked, "Are you sure Han Fei can really break that stepping stone?" Tengu nodded. "Yes, he is no longer the Han Fei of the past. I'm very sure about this. The Han Fei of the past definitely couldn't do it, but the Han Fei of the present can definitely do it." Chapter Error.